I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast, set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a day
Nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
Jake Long, round 2.
No one's going to know.
No one's going to know. Well, I'll go ahead and fess up because we should have had a podcast out today, man. We had a great one yesterday, man. It was a banger, about an hour and 40 minutes. Man, breaking down team roping from the coolest angles to, you know, all the trips from how you got there, your first NFR, your last one, man. We broke down some great stuff. Well, about 28 minutes into it, my SD card just bit the bit and just ran off and quit working. So here we are again.
Well, at least we got a practice run, so we'll try again.
That's right. That's right. We had a good practice run yesterday. It's kind of one of them great practice runs, and you just hope, like, all right, now here we go again. So
yeah.
Hopefully this got the fears right on to the next one.
Yeah.
The wind's blowing, so it's not a great day to rope anyway, so.
Which I actually am going to go run some after this, but maybe
Don't doubt it.
Maybe it'll chill.
At least it is at your back if it's headed toward the north.
It is. Yep.
So that works out pretty good. Well, man, thanks again for coming back, man. I sure appreciate it. I'm so looking forward to this. This was a fun one yesterday, man. It just felt like we were just hanging out in the rig, driving around, talking team roping, man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. It wasn't the format that I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a little more question and answer, and it was just like two buddies hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
And
I enjoyed it.
Made it pretty effortless. So.
Well, this is your 15th NFR that you're going into this year.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look back at your career, just in the PRCA, not counting jackpots and standalone events, you're at $3 million with a heel rope, over $3 million with a heel rope, man. What a phenomenal career you've had, man.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. I think it's funny because a lot of people just see the end result here of like being able to make the finals that many times, and I wish a lot of them understood the struggle that went on to get me there. So many times that I was, close to giving up, ready to, just not know if it was going to be meant to be. Because when you struggle out here year after year, it's like, man, I don't know if this is meant for me. Either I'm not good enough or it's just not meant to be. Maybe, I don't know. And when that breakthrough finally comes through, I just wanted to make it one time. If I could just get in that building one time. And then for it to be 15 years, it's just, it's wild, unbelievable. Huh? I can't even believe it.
Yeah. And that's so many of us. I mean, I remember the same thing. I think for me, it took me till I was 27, 28 to where I finally made the NFR. And I look back at it and the amount of times I'm like, man, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Because I had the expectations at 18.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. When the rookie of the year, man, the next thing is NFR.
Mm-hmm.
Well, almost 10 years later, then finally getting that breakthrough, but like, man, just the struggles and, the things that I think the fact that like for me, my plan B sucked, and I just always wanted to make it. That was that yellow arena, man. Yeah. That was just the drive. That was every horse I shot, every pisshead horse I rode, everything that was to try to, day work to, some construction jobs here and there, whatever it was because like, I knew if I didn't make it, that shoeing horses or working at Les Schwab's was plan B.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's a bad line. It's just the fact that I wanted the other one so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
Shoeing horses was great money, but then if you wanted benefits, Les Schwab's had the greatest benefits where as hard as you worked, you could climb the ladder.
Right.
So for me, those were my options, and I just didn't want it.
Yeah.
And I wanted that yellow arena so much more, and so it just kind of kept my feet to the fire. But then, man, that first one, and you're just like, oh. And then, like for me, 10 was unbelievable. So you're kind of almost in the same way in the fact of like, how long it took you to get there. And then now you look back at 15 of them and it's just phenomenal.
I don't know that I ever really had this is going to sound weird now. I don't know that I really ever had like a straight plan of like, I want this to be my, quote unquote career. It was just, I loved roping. I loved chasing that dream. I think it was more just like, man, it seemed like such a pipe dream from where I was from. Britt Buckus was from our area, but he was 10 years prior to all of us, and then we had some child prodigies like Travis Graves that was there, but it almost seemed destined for him. But then for all of us kind of normal folk, it was kind of like, man, the chances of us getting to live that dream just seemed like it was completely in the stars. And so when me and Coleman were growing up, I mean, yeah, we wanted to make it. We wanted to go there, but I don't think it was really with the intention of like, I'm going to have a Corey Coons career or something like that. That seemed unreachable for sure. But if we could just maybe slip in there one time, like, man, that would be awesome. And so for it to turn into what it turned into is just a complete godsend deal. And that was just his plan for my life. And yeah, very, very thankful.
Yeah. It's a great career, jackpots, all those things you kind of come along to win, to be, one of the elite healers. And 41 now?
Mm-hmm.
And roping as good as you've ever roped. And it just looks so good. Watching you the other day at our military event, our Liberty and Loyalty American Heroes celebration, getting to draw you in the jackpot the other day, man. It was fun. It was just fun to be able to, me and Trey been roping quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Trey's roping, just watching how much Trey Johnson, his roping has just accelerated.
Yes.
Even with age, it just keeps getting better. He keeps getting faster. And then when you and I drawed, just someone that was in the game, it was just so much fun. Like the first one, I think, was just a good steer. The read of where you're at to where you knew where the steer was going and just the tee off. The second steer, same way. I think the third steer might have hit a little bit. I think I got a neck and he hit a little bit out. When he came back, you knew where he was about to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just the reads, just the ability to be able to, okay, I can feel where the horse is. I can feel where the steer's about to hit and be ahead of it and know I just how to react. That's one thing about, like, you think of Clay Cooper, Jade Corkill. What steer could do anything that they haven't seen?
Right.
What hop could they give them that they have not seen to where they know where they're about to be? And just the guys that are in the game and just watching them back there, man, it's just, it's art. It's just badass.
Yeah, it's, I've told a lot of people the hard thing about roping is, especially when you're helping somebody, is the lower number that the headers go, the harder the read becomes. So like even when we're roping in the pro-ams, you honestly are playing a little more defense than you are offense. But when I get behind somebody like you, who's, you know what I mean? I know you've been out of the game for a little while, but it's just like jumping on a bike. I mean, you know how to set me up. You know how to read the healer. Man, I can do some really cool things if my horse will allow me. And that horse that I got now can really, really run. He lets me do whatever I want to do. And he's still a baby. He's just 6, but he kind of became my number one horse about June this year. And so, the things that he's allowing me to do and use his ability to show my talents off has been really neat. But, a lot of the thing about healing to me is if you're going to heal any kind of aggressive, it's more of a predicting the future a little bit. Like you're making a read and it's off of the million of steers that I've run. And I was just talking to somebody, a lower number healer the other day, about the fact of like, I can probably get by the lower number header a little bit better than they can, but it's because I've run a million steers in my life. It's not, it's not my hobby. I don't have a job that's paying the bills and then, this is my side gig. This is the only thing I do and think about and crave and watch videos and study. And so I'm able to predict the future a little bit better, even behind a lower numbered header than they are able to. So they almost have to, when we're helping them, the corner and everything that I'm setting up behind Andrew Ward is not the corner that they're going to get behind a number 5 header.
100%.
And so you have a little more defense in there behind that number 5 header, and you almost have to kind of see what happens and then react. You can predict it a tiny bit, but it's a lot more unknown, and it just makes your job a lot harder.
I had a clinic one time with Clay Cooper, and somebody asked him how they were trying to read the corner, and how he broke it down was so cool. And he was talking about how when he would get up there and get in position, he would see the back feet when he would start his swing, but the header was always in his peripherals.
Mm-hmm.
He could tell when the guy ran up there and set his run up and roped and got his slack and his horse stood up. He knew where that steer was about to probably be, depending on if his steer checked or anything, out of the realm. But he kind of had an idea. He knew that he had control. He knew where the steer was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about when a guy runs up there and all of a sudden he feels the horse and the rope goes by, then the head horse disappears. He's like, all right, now I know I got to get up and get around because he's going to hit, and it's going to be fast, just to how he was breaking it down to where he could feel the read. If you're a wide receiver out there and you can feel when the quarterback's standing in the pocket and he's got his feet under you, he's going to freaking just throw that ball right in a straight line, as opposed to when he hits, comes around and that header, the quarterback's scrambling. Different now it's kind of street ball. Yeah, so it's so much similarities between trying to run a route and for the header to get the ball between the heeler's numbers, basically. To be able to tee that steer up where you can read it, but then also when Plan B shows up and you got to run out of the pocket and your horse drops, that healer able to react to that too, and it's just fun to be able to watch when you guys reactions are just because it's where people talk about mental games so much. I love what Jeremy Bueller talked about. He's like, this mental game has kind of gotten a little bit out of hand because. And I agree with it because if your swing's heading the wrong direction and you're trying to rope over there and your swing's headed off over there, that ain't mental. That's a technique issue, and where your guys' technique now is so correct that now it's just being able to react and read those situations in a split second because everything you guys, the foundation is laid. You guys all rope good. Now from there, it's the read of being able to react within a split second to be able to watch that steer when he hits or if he fast hops or if he fits and sits on the end. Those are all reads now that you guys can make just in a split second. Yeah, it's I'll tell you the big thing as far as the mental game, and I've fought several of those feelings of the mental game. It used to be I used to be the guy that would stall up for 3 days and not talk to nobody. So to me, a lot of that is mental game. It's putting undue pressure or undue expectations on everything. To me, that's a big thing. My wife's been my therapist for, 20 years now. We've been married. And so she gets tired of me whining, I think, about the same old thing. I go through I feel the same roller coaster every year. Like there are certain times where I think you could yank them out of the arena and I'm still going to catch 2 feet. And then there's sometimes that I think if you took the rope for me, I'm still going to miss somehow. Like I just, I think it's something that I don't know that a lot of guys admit it very, very well, especially at the high level that we do it, but everybody struggles with the same thing, really deep down. It might be at different moments. The really good guys don't stay in it as long. I think that's the best thing about being the good guys is, they get out of their ruts faster because they know that they have the foundation and the confidence to get out of it. But it's something that I've really, really worked on through the years. It is not, she always tells me that you got to redefine what success is to you. So like as a healer, there's so many things that are out of all of our control. But as a healer, I can't control the start you get. I can't control how you ride your horse, how fast you turn the cow, what steer we have, what the weather's like. All that's out of my control. All I can control is I try to read the cow, get in the best spot I can, take a high percentage throw when I think I'm going to rope 2 feet, big slack, strong finish, good dally. That's really all I can do. So if I do those things, I did my job. Whether we were 4 flat and 1 first, or whether we were 6 flat and we're in the 2D and didn't even come close to placing. So I've tried to be better about that and being more realistic with myself about, if you give me a tough go, maybe acknowledge that it was hard. Like I'm not a big excuse guy as far as like blaming the header that I missed one or anything, but understand that like, man, that was a tough go. I could have read it better. I could have overcome. I didn't for whatever reason. So learn from it and let's go to the next one. And I'm liable to be as mad as anybody can be for half an hour. And I'm trying to narrow it down to that. And I would like for it to be even less than that. I'd like for it to be a 5-10 minute, man, we're really upset at ourselves. And then life goes on. Let's go get something to eat and go to the next one. And that to me is where like summertime rodeoing is so much easier to me because there's always another one. I don't have to think about like wintertime is so hard because I might rope at Denver. And then it might be a month until I run another cow that means something. Obviously we're going to come home, practice and jackpot, whatever. But like rodeo wise, it might be literally a month in between steers that actually count for the world standings. And so you have that whole time to sit there and stew on that mistake and that mess up and trying to let go of it and move on to the next one. Well, when you're rodeoing, there might be another steer that night, or for sure there's going to be one tomorrow. And so it's easier to like it's like practicing.
like it's easy to let go in the practice pen because I'm going to walk right back down the arena and run another one.
Make the adjustment. With
yeah. And so
that's,
that's what summertime rodeoing's like for me. And to me, it's so much easier to let go of it because we have one that matters just as much tomorrow.
Yep.
And so, we need to let it go and move on and don't let it affect the next one.
I think you summed up the mental game in just the simplicity of how you explain that. Because I think the mental game to me is you need to know how to think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, the don'ts was my biggest deal. My dad instilled don't so much in me because it was his way of keeping me alive. Charlie, don't walk behind the horse. Charlie, don't jump off the barn again. You're going to break your leg. Charlie, don't stick your finger in the light socket. Everything was a don't to keep me alive. Well, the problem was that when then I'd ride in the box, be like, all right, don't miss. Don't split the horns. Don't break out. Don't fall off. Don't lose your hat. Well, all the don'ts, like sometimes you don't see the don't when you're visualizing that when you're riding the box. So you're visualizing almost everything you're saying. So like when you're talking about the fact that when they're peaking and then they drop, the drop isn't near as bad as when they get back up on top again. And some of the books that I read, the book with winning in mind was one of my favorite books, a great audio book by Lanny Bashan. He was an Olympic shooter. And he would talk about, he would keep a performance journal. And it wasn't on his stats. It was on what he was focused on, what he see, what he feel, what was he telling himself, what was he focused on during that run. So when he just come in there and like basically healing, like you just see that everything and you're ahead of it to where it just slows down. It's like, okay, what was I focused on right there? How do I do that again? So you're telling yourself the things you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's what a good foundation is. So you have something to trust that's solid right there. So when it does have that dip, and one of the things he talked about too that I really liked was when you missed, what'd you see? What'd you feel? What were you focused on? What were you telling yourself? So then that way, when you say it's splitting the horns and you figure out the way to where that next loop, you wrote both horns at the same time. Okay, what was that tiny little glitch right there that happened to make one split the horns and the other one go around the horns? Maybe one was a right leg and it was the same go as the next one and you got 2 feet on. Those little tiny adjustments. He said, because when you get up underneath of it, that's when the next time it happens, you don't take that dip near as far because that small adjustment to make sure you can kind of get back in the game again. And to me, like what you explained was basically how to think.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the mental game is not, but when the technique's off, that's when I think of people, oh man, I'm in my head. No, you're not. Your swing's going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Oh man, I was in my head right there. No, you weren't. You were out of time.
Right.
Oh man, I waited off. That's it. Well, yeah, your horse kept going.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I think guys don't understand is those little things that happen that created that. That's not a mental error. That's a technique error. That's what I love about what Bueller said.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's things that happen. There's a flaw in the technique that was avoidable.
Mm-hmm.
That on the next one, if you can correct, you're going to be back in it.
See, I don't get near as mad at myself. If I set the run up good and everything's perfect, I see the corner good, I read the cow, man, I'm in a great spot, and I just throw a bad loop, I can let that one go 100 times faster than the mental mistake. If I back in there and the run's just a blur and I wasn't focused and all of a sudden the run's over and I'm like, I don't know what I was seeing. I don't know what I was looking. I basically just wasted all of our time. And I've even done it when the headers miss. Like if all of a sudden the header misses and I'm headed 9-0 towards him, it's like I wasn't reading nothing. I'm just like going through the motions of this run. I'll get just as mad at myself sometimes when the header misses because I knew if that would went on, I wasn't ready. I wasn't focused. I wasn't prepared to rope that steer by 2 feet. But if I set everything up perfect and it's just a physical error, well, I mean, we're all human. I can rope the Heliomatic, and if you pull it long enough for me, I'm going to throw a bad loop sooner or later where I rope a leg or throw it high on the ride or something's going to happen to where it's just like, we're human. Stuff's going to happen. But I've really tried to narrow it down to where I like to have like a 2-word or a 2-phrase thing that I tell myself before I go in the box. And it has to change sometimes. Like all summer, it was tip to target, look at my spot. I told myself that. I would say it 5 or 6 times before as they're starting the team roping at the rodeo, tip to target, look at your spot, tip to target, look at your spot. Well, then as I ride in the box, I'll usually tell myself, or sometimes you'll even see me moving my lips and I'm just sitting there telling myself that over and over and over. And then sometimes that has to change because then it almost just becomes words after a while. Like it goes from really focusing me in to like almost just I don't want to say superstition, but like it's just a routine at that point. I'm not really saying anything to myself. I'm just saying words. And so anytime I get in a funk, me and Coleman are best friends. He knows me inside out. And usually me and him can talk and and he kind of knows how I tick. And so we'll find, those phrases together, or I'll just pray about it and sometimes, find them that way. So, I tend to try to find things like the finals is always different for me, whether it's position or sometimes I'll get to not swing my rope with as much power as I want to. So that'll get into there sometimes. So I haven't really figured out what I'm going to focus on for this particular finals, but that is as much in my practice session as anything is trying to figure out like what little tiny thing feels like a weakness that I can focus on to like not let it become a problem.
That's a good one. That's a really good one because like when I do so many clinics throughout the year and you're going to hear different guys and they'll try to help me coach. I'm like, hang on, just one teacher at a time. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they're trying to tell someone what worked for them, mm-hmm. which is great. It's great. But what works for them doesn't work for everyone. Just mm-hmm. exactly like what you're talking about. Because like Billy Jack Buttcrack, he might be like, oh, that's bullshit. I focus on the base. Or I focus on that right horn. Mm-hmm. Then Willie Evercatch, he's like, oh, bullshit. I focus on the base of the left horn. Mm-hmm. The problem is both of them are right.
Yeah.
The guy that's missing the right horn is probably more focused on getting that swing outside the right horn so he makes sure he gets that right horn caught. Mm-hmm. Well, the other guy might be splitting horns for whatever reason. Focus on the base of that left horn may help him get his hand over the base of that left horn, whatever it is. But like that's what works for them. Mm-hmm. That's that thing you're talking about, that those weaknesses. And that's what I think most focus points is focusing on the weakness of the run because the strengths are there. Mm-hmm. The strengths are there. So it's always something that sees like if you're focused on the weakness, and I don't mean focused on it, but I mean you're focused on the counter of the weakness. Mm-hmm. So whether it's if I'm swinging too slow in the corner, okay, the focus now is get some power on that swing.
Yeah.
You're focused on the counter of it, and so like for me, if I'm hitting under that right horn, like, all right, now get my swing above the horns on that first one, then I got him.
Yeah.
You're countering what the, what that glitch is, if mm-hmm. that makes sense. And that seems like where the focus is. Cause as far as reading the start and get my first swing up, I've got that down. That's a reaction. I've got that without thinking about it. Now I need to make sure that swing's headed in the right spot so that loop opens up and nothing but horns in the middle of that loop. No different than, all right, power on that swing so I can get ahead of that hop. So when I let off, bam.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of like to pick whoever it is that I think's the best at that thing I'm weak at because everybody's got their strengths. Mm-hmm. And so like, to me, Logan Medlin rides the outside of the turn about as good as anybody. Paul Eve swings his rope with more power than anybody. Jade's patience, like there's so many strengths that everybody has. I love the way the junior gets his shoulders pointed at his target. So whatever it is that I'm struggling with, I will borderline mimic those guys in my head to like overcome that weakness. And then you're kind of putting the puzzle back together. And that's how I kind of, I guess, get back onto target a little bit faster.
For me, those are the good visuals, because one thing that's great about the Cowboy channel now and social media is you can watch everyone's runs. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, we had to hear about, say, Lightning Aguilera and Big Cheese run over there at Bremerton where they were 3-5 and just Cheese goes by the corner and just frickin'. Yeah. I mean, just like in the back of the end zone, he's freaking out. He somehow gets a one-hand catch, gets 2 feet in bounds. You know mm-hmm. what I mean? Like that was his heel shot.
Yeah.
10 years ago, we had to hear about that. Yeah. Now every one of us can watch it.
Yeah.
So you can, like for me, those were things too I remember doing because, when you're going from, Coeur d'Alene back to Kennewick, it's not like, the short round that night or something like that. If you roped that morning in slack and you missed one at, Coeur d'Alene and now you got to go back to Coeur d'Alene that night, it's not like you get a chance to practice. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think a lot of guys, when they're studying those runs, are like, okay, where I was at here, this is where Jay does this, or this is where Junior does this. Like for me, when I would struggle, if it was my horse, Trevor was always my first call because mm-hmm. that dude he could counter everything that a horse could do, and his horsemanship was amazing. Luke Brown's angles back then, man, him and Clay Tryon, they could get to the steer from the start to the steer almost as good as anybody, mm-hmm. And then you just watch Driggers and Clay Smith on just where that loop is placed just perfectly, and just all those things like that. And same thing, like you're just watching those good runs because there's a lot too visuals, there's a lot too, like when you're watching a perfect run. So when you're in your mind and you're in the game, then all of a sudden that almost can develop a little bit of muscle memory just mm-hmm. from that trip from Coeur d'Alene back to Kennewick that night.
Well, not to mention like too, like on our phones, we've got, I probably got 1,000 videos of me roping on my phone. And I bet there ain't 3 of them that I don't rope 2 feet on. I mean, that is a highlight reel mm-hmm. of my team roping because, we're all feeding this machine and this robot where we're trying to produce the best outcome that we can get. And so I'm not going to feed negative thinking and negative thoughts. Just like you said it yesterday, like Albach told you, you would talk to your buddies a certain way. Why don't you talk to yourself that way? Well, it's kind of the same thing with watching them videos. Like, I'm not going to sit there and watch myself fail. If I mess one up somewhere, I'll watch it a few times, but it's deleted probably within an hour of me getting that video. And then which I feel bad, because if somebody needs to run later in the rodeo, like, hey, man, you got a video of that steer? No, sorry, man, I didn't catch that.
Tell you exactly what you did, though. That leg pulling bitch.
Yeah, no kidding. But if I get on there and watch them videos, it's like, again, I can put myself back in them moments. Man, what was I thinking? Man, I was really right in the corner good at that particular time. And you can, it's an easier way to get out of them ruts. But if I sit there and watch myself miss, then I start thinking all them times of like, man, I was thinking this and the run was going too fast in my head and all that stuff. And it can just snowball that way too. So, I mean, there is a lot to do with the mental side, but
I totally agree.
But I agree with Bueller a lot too, of like, I think I love golf, and it's kind of like the guys that play slow in golf. It's because they're sitting there overthinking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was Dustin Johnson maybe said, man, get up there. You're either going to hit a good shot or you ain't. And it's really that simple. Like, that gate's going to open. We're going to run this cow. It's either going to go good or it ain't. And then we're going to load up and go to the next one. So, like, I had a thought one time we were at St. Paul, and I don't even know who I was roping with, but we were kind of having a rough year at the time. And you know, I'm kind of feeling the pressure of that. And, you know, 4th of July, we need to be hitting that week. And so I'm at St. Paul, and I just remember having the thought of like, you know what? I'm going to try to win today. But if I don't win today, it's okay. I'll win tomorrow. And if I don't win tomorrow, that's okay. I'll win the next day. And it was like it just took a weight off of me. And I don't even remember how it went. Maybe we did good, maybe we didn't. But I just remember having that thought of like, man, it's going to be okay. Like, you don't have, like, this one steer doesn't have to win on this particular cow. There's going to be other opportunities. There's going to be chances. Just, you got to keep putting yourself in good spots. That's the main thing.
That's kind of like what Charlie Kirk, we were talking about yesterday too, was like, I loved what he had said about that two shell pass. And he would talk about it when the storms would come, you know, when the misses come and you hit those ruts. And he's like, you know, talking basically in our terms is like that two shell pass. But then he also talked when things were going good, you know, and you're just making those dingers through the 4th of July, man, and just freaking 11 for 11 or whatever. And like, that too shall also pass. You know, so he talked about like staying humble when it's high and then when it's hot, and then staying hopeful when it's hitting the ruts. And so it was a good way, way he explained it was to kind of stay at that level like we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a mentality. Like, to me, that's part of the mental game. That's like, how do you tolerate losing? Because it's going to happen. You know, how do you overcome it? Because to me, that is a mental strength. Some people have it and it's natural. That's why some people are like, this mental game is like hogwash. Well, no, because not everyone has the ability to overcome defeat. You know, that's for some people. For me, that was a learned skill. That was not natural. I had to learn that because what was happening was that run was defecting my next run. So yes, that was a mental block that I was having with learning, okay, here's what happened good. Here's what I need to focus on this next one. This is how I get myself back in the rope and back in the game, back whatever it is. That was learned. That was not natural. I was the same way of just freaking throwing a fit, just getting mad, and then carried over the next one, then the next one, then for long. I'm in this rut, and it's like quicksand. And that's kind of what we were talking about yesterday too, is like trying too hard. Yeah. To me, trying too hard is just that's a mental game. That's an error in the fact that I get it, because like in football, the harder you try, and bareback riding, the harder you try, the more successful you get. Well, this is a little bit more finesse. You know, there has to be some relaxed. There has to be some focused. There's some energy in here, but you got to be able to control it, because if you took too much rage, like you're about a linebacker playing football and trying to just run through someone, you know, it's trying too hard. You're probably going to run through the barrier. You're probably going to miss the corner, you know, all those things, because it's not the same technique. You know, there's so much feel and timing to roping that trying too hard, to me, it puts a guy in quicksand, because the harder you try, the more you sink. Yeah. And to me, that's where I think sometimes that happens in team roping. Hey, friends, if you're looking for something that inspires grit, creativity, and good old-fashioned hard work, you've got to check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear. This isn't just another brand. It's a group of homeschooled teenagers who are learning to enterprise, building real skills, and producing high-quality gear that stands up to ranch life and beyond right here in Texas. Each piece is hand-tooled by these young men and women themselves, and the craftsmanship speaks for itself. Their truck scabbard? It's their top seller. Rugged, practical, and built to last. If you're looking for something unique for your business, they even create custom corporate gifts with your company logo. And here's what I love. Every purchase not only gets you gear you can count on, but it also supports the next generation of entrepreneurs who are learning what it takes to work hard, create value, and build something meaningful with their own two hands. Whether you're a rancher, a business owner, or just someone who loves quality American-made gear, check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear at EzraTechGear.com. To get a 10% discount, use promo code CHARLIE10. That's CHARLY10. EzraTechGear.com, where craftsmanship meets enterprise and the future is being built one tool at a time.
I'll tell you the funny thing for me is I have to fight harder when I'm doing really good to stay focused than like if I'm doing bad and I'm mad, boy, you're liable to get the best version of me because I'm pissed off, I'm zoned in, I'm focused, like this is ending now. But if I'm really rocking and rolling, well, then I get to like kind of sloughing it off, not paying attention. It's harder for me to focus if we're doing really, really good than it is for me if I'm doing really bad. And
man, how much fun is that zone?
Oh, man.
When you're zoning, man, and you're just locked in, man, how quiet is that mind?
Mm-hmm.
It's effortless.
Yeah.
It's
well,
wild.
they say like in football is probably the main game that they talk about this, but the great quarterbacks, when the game slows down, that's when they become, and to me, roping's the same way. Like when that run slows down and you can make a run and it feels like, man, we were 7 flat right there. And then you look up the clock, you're like, we were 4.8? Like how? But it's because it's effortless and everything doesn't matter outside of you. And which I'm not one of them guys that zones out as far as like, I can hear the announcers. Half the time I'm talking back to the announcer in my head if they say something wrong or goofy. And, I don't know if that's a good or a bad trait.
Well, I think between you and Coleman, I think Coleman can talk to the gate man and not at the same time.
Yeah.
And then when he's done, he's fan friendly. He'll hit every hand on the way out,
I did tell him the first time
he
we rode.
stays present.
I said, listen, man, I don't care if you talk to 1,000 people in the box. Leave me out of it. He would want to be like, man, Jake, what do you think about this one? Man, I don't know, my horse is locked up. And it's like, dude, that's fine if that's
Wasn't
your
that Preacher?
process. Yeah.
Did Preacher lock up?
Yeah. And I'm like, it's fine if that's your process, but like, I need to be a little more.
Talk to the gate man.
I don't want people talking to me, 2 teams before they're fixing a rope or before I'm fixing a rope.
Yeah.
I need to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just give me my 5-minute window here, 10-minute, whatever it is. And then I'll talk to anybody. Like, before that window and after that window, I'm great. But that little window, I need to be by myself. Coleman don't have a window.
His head's out the window.
Yeah, he'll talk to you in the middle of the run sometimes if you let him.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Well, man, I was watching, this week, and then we have an NFR showdown. So our NFR showdown there at our American Heroes Celebration, that's where we invite the NFR guys. And this year was tough because we had quite a few of them. We had 8 of them that had to go to the Hondo Rodeo. So we had to kind of fill in, a few of the guys that had to leave, and it was pretty cool. T. Wade, Thorpe, and Kobe Payne and Tanner Thomason, they all hitched a charter, and they were going back and forth. So it was pretty cool to have them there and go back and forth. But, just so we can kind of get over some of the guys that are probably going to be looking to see, oh, man, well, there's some partner changes, this and that. I see where Tyler Trine and Jake Long are open, this we can put that to bed. Kind of what was the reason for, you and Tyler end up winning the NFR showdown together, but talk about where Andrew Ward was.
Well, Andrew abandoned me is what happened this week. He just kicked me out of the rig and didn't let me go with him to Arizona. But no, the way it worked out, I believe Clay Smith was supposed to go to the Hondo. Well, then the Wilderness Circuit Finals in Utah were the same day, and so they dropped down on the head side and grabbed Andrew, and so Andrew and Colby teamed up out there, and then me and Tyler are third partners at all the jackpots now. So whenever I needed a run that had opened up at your deal, I called him first because I knew he'd be around, and which actually he was at the Wilderness Circuit Finals too, but then they were able to fly in from the night before. And so I've roped with him a bunch, seen him grow up, obviously roped with his dad and his uncle and both uncles, and had a lot of success with the whole family. But it's neat to get to rope with him, and it's not like I'm doing him any favors. He's amazing. I mean, he's got so much talent. He's basically a veteran and an old dude in a 19-year-old body. So that kid's gonna have a heck of a career and probably break some records that we haven't seen before it's over, I'm sure. So
I agree.
Happy to at least be on the front of the ride with him.
For him to kind of be in that setup, You know, it's not like he's been in the NFR, even though he's been there
Mhm.
never many times with his dad, but it looked easy for him.
Yep.
Big, long arms, a lot of range. You know, you guys come in, and it was a tight roping, man. It was fun to watch. I think you guys won almost 22,000, I think, together, but 17-6 on 4. You know, that's decent. And then 18, Luke Brown, 1 second, was 18 on 4. Cal Dennison was 18 on 4. Clay Trine and Braylon Trine were 20. You know, it's cool to see them rope together, father and son. And then that James RV, so he won 4th. But I think they had a leg.
They did, yeah.
With 5th, and it was 21.
Yeah, their runs were unbelievable.
James looked, I mean, the 2 rookies between Tyler Trine and James looked tight.
Yeah.
Looks real tight. Future looks bright with those 2.
Man, I'll tell you what, I feel like there's been guys sprinkled in along the way, like young guys, you know, some really good young talent that's come up. But to me, there's a crop of them coming now. And it's somewhat scary, I think, as an old guy, of like, man, that's a lot of young talent that we're going to have to contend with now, and they're not going to do nothing but get better and fast. And so the nice thing about being old is, well, if they push me out, they push me out. It's been a good run. So, but no, it's, you know, me and Tyler talked ahead of time, and just with roping with different guys or whatever, you know, like me and Andy, if we'd been roping there, we put everything on the left line. You know, we kind of play that side of the arena. And so I just asked Tyler how he wanted the cows, and he wanted everything either straight or a half step to the right. And so it did change.
And that was me, because that always felt like the run cleaned up better in the middle, and it gave me time to finish. You know, that is interesting when you talk about that, because those lines you're talking about there, that's a big part of it, especially when it comes NFR time. You know, because there's some strategy, because that left wall is only 55 feet from the middle of that preferred chute to that left wall. So you're talking all those tiny little things, and those are all angles. So that's going to be an angle on how that head horse runs and how he breaks the box and how that run's developed. So that's interesting when you talk about that, because there's a lot to that.
Yeah, it's Andy's probably, I guess, more old school in that theory, because that when I started, when we were younger, that, you know, everything was on the left line. That was just the way team roping was. And then everybody
get them in that left lead and step them and bring them to the header, correct?
And which there is some truth to that. The head horse can catch up faster. You know, if you can get everything on the right line, Andy's so good about his horses staying in their lane so well. So especially Biscuit, like, you can't hardly push one hard enough to put him in a bind. That horse will just move with the cow as hard as he has to, and he essentially makes the run straight no matter how hard you're pushing him left. So you can be just as fast. It's hard for me in my mind, because I did transition over into where we figured out the run is faster straight. I can run one a lot further than somebody is crashing one to the left. But Andy's different, because his horses are special, and he's special with the lines that he keeps. And so I'll fail us sometimes, because I'll get into some scenarios where I'm like, man, that left wall is awful close. And then, you know, I'll get to doubting it, and then maybe I don't help us as much as I need to, and then I end up throwing our rhythm off. But every single time that I trust it, man, we made a run at, I believe it was Canby this year, and I messed up completely. Like, the steer was supposed to run. He didn't really start. I did. So, I mean, I dang near pass him at the neck rope. And I mean, I put him on the worst possible. And for everybody that doesn't know, Canby's left wall is tighter
right
than the NFR. It is. I mean, I bet it ain't 40 foot from the buck, or from the rope and shoot. And so I put him on that left line, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. And I'm even like, I kind of went out straight, the steer jumps left, and Andy just ding dongs the barrier, gets it on him, and somehow I pull a shot off. And I think we were 4 flat any other team in the world would have been 6 by the time you got unwound out of the spot I put us in. So, but that's just where his horses are special, and he's pretty special with how he does things.
Yeah, you look at James Arviso, and man, that kid looks like a little mini Derek Begay with he just roped so good all week. He was high call and win the roping on Friday, and then that qualified him into the NFR showdown, and just looked like a veteran. I mean, and then, you talk about Tyler Trine, because I think the head side, in my opinion, is so hard, because that's almost like for a young kid to come out successful right off the bat is rare. No different than how I would say like a quarterback coming into the NFL. It's so much faster than what they're used to seeing. There's so many times that there's different reads and stuff like that. Like for a header coming out, there's so many of those kids that they've never been to Salinas. They've only seen it on TV. They haven't been to Dodge City, and knowing how that Ellensburg and how sometimes that short round falls apart, you see sometimes where they might press at Ellensburg and like, no, just go be smooth. And then all of a sudden, then they might, hold back a little bit at Ellens or Walla Walla and like, no, you need to press here.
Yeah.
And so I think what Tyler Tryon's ability was, and the fact that he'd been in the rig for so long and watched his dad just annihilate the competition for years and decades. So I mean, it's not like he didn't know that Ellensburg falls apart because he's already been there.
Yeah.
He wasn't entered, but he was at so many rodeos before he even got his card that's probably one of the most experienced young kids probably going.
Well, and I think not only that, but then Clay made this comment about Nicky. Even he said, "I bet Nicky's been to more jackpots than you have in your entire life already." And this was when he was 17 years old. And I'm like, because he amateur rodeoed and jackpotted, and then you got Tyler, who, like you said, has seen every setup in the world numerous times. It ain't like he just went a couple times with his dad, and he sees everything like a veteran. I mean, it's just like you said before that for your roping, your roping's a different setup for us as far as like it mimics the NFR, but then all the money's in the average. So like it'd be like going to Vegas and then the rounds didn't really pay as stout, but it was all in the average. Well, the roping would be a lot different, or it should be. And so he come up to me before and he's like, "Hey, I'm just going to try to go be mid to long four on every one of them. We'll just run them in the middle arena." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's perfect. Let's do that." Well, then
scratching the rounds and win the average.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, man, our run was just fast. It was clocking, which I think the funny thing, that's the, the slowing the run down in your head. But every time I've ever told somebody, man, I'm just going to slow down, take a swing over and make sure I rope. Well, it's funny when you really see it super clear, you'll end up roping so much faster than you think you are. Me and, we went to Hill City one time and I was struggling and I was roping with Luke Brown, and me and Coleman were up the same night over there. And I tell him, I'm like, "Man, I'm just fighting my head. I'm not roping good. I don't see it good." I was like, "I'm going to ride Colonel at this, not great rodeo, but I'm just going to come around the corner, swing over his back. I'm going to rope 2 feet, just see myself catch one. And then maybe that'll get us rolling for the Dodge week." He's like, "Man, I think that's perfect." So I come out there and I heel the cow and I borderline crossfire him. I come out of the arena and I said, "Man, that was perfect." I was like, "I just took that swing over." And Coleman's like, "What swing over? Down the arena? Is that the one you're talking about?" But it's when you slow your mind down, you get out of your own way. I was just trying to, I'm leaving there before, riding as hard as I can, swinging as hard as I can. I'm trying to force shots. Well, then you're just running it. That's you talking about the timing of the run. I mean, it's just when you lose that rhythm, it's smooth as fast is the old saying, which, I mean, I heard somebody say smooth is fast, no fast is fast. But I mean, it's, that there is a lot of truth in that. When you smooth out the lines and smooth out the timing of everything, even as much as like letting the head horse finish and stuff like that, man, you can shave time off of a run in so many different ways.
It seems like when I remembered it being out there, and it seemed like it was always kind of there was parts where I was hitting and some times where I'd struggle during the summer, and it was never the same time. It was always a little bit, kind of mixed. But like it seemed like what I remembered was, it seemed like the majority of bad habits that everyone would say bad habits. It seems like what most of the time where guys would struggle, just like what you said, is when there was a step that was skipped. Like you anticipated a step too early. Like the old guys back, the veterans before me, one of the things that they would constantly say is score, ride, rope, keep it in order. The Leo Camarillo days, the T-Womans, make sure you see your start, then you can bring your swing up, then ride your horse, and then the shot will be there. Like keep that in order. And what would happen when I would find myself is then I would try to when I would not, I wouldn't score and I'd just ride, then I'd break the barrier, trying to be too fast. You always, it seemed like it was come from an anticipation of a step before it gets there, or I would see my start. Well, then I just bring my rope up and go to throw. Well, I didn't ride my horse, and the steer just disappeared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you never rode your horse.
Yeah.
And it seems like the same thing in the heel side. A guy can anticipate a step early and be looking because things are just so fast, and you constantly are just, staying on, just on the whole time. And everything's like, say, especially when nowadays, everything is so fast because there's so many one-headers. Seems like that's when a guy every once in a while might have to slow down because, okay, wait for it to happen. And then like I say, and then you look at the video and you're like, damn, that was right what I was looking for. The last 5 runs that I made, I should have, if I just did that, hell, I'd have been.
Well, I was going to say, Tyler at your deal, he was just hammering the barrier. He's still reaching. He's still doing a lot of really cool things, but in his mind, he's just catching, which I guess in all regards, he was just catching because he is capable of doing the dusting over the chute, borderline blind headshot. Like, I've watched him do it. He's more than capable of turning all four of them to be 3 flat or whatever.
Yeah.
But for him to have the discipline, and it sounds weird, to have the discipline to slow down and try to go beat 4.5, 4.6 on 4 of them instead of trying to. The hard part about the roping is you want to get caught up in the fast runs.
Yeah.
The crowd, the music,
100%.
the announcers, and we all want to kind of stand them up and show off a little bit. But
when you talk about that,
focus,
because that's hard to do, because when you watch Tanner Tomlinson and Nikki Northcott go 3-2,
mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's a world record, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They set up a world record. And like for me, when I would go to the NFR, there was 3 and it was only till the end, that I kind of had this, and I'd stayed in the average enough that I didn't have to and I wasn't good at it either, but like I knew that, like where Tyler Tryon was at, that as far as where I knew that if I could get that steer caught, there's a certain spot in the arena that was between 4.3 and 4.5, maybe 4.7, depending on the steer, how hard he ran, that if I nod, get my swing going, feed at the line, and then throw, that's the best momentum I have for the horns to gain to me,
mm-hmm.
to where I can be, on a good steer, hits the end, 4.2, 4.3, on a normal steer, 4.5, 4.7, things like that. But then if I want to be faster than that, then I know if I nod, get my swing going, feed in the middle of the box, and be coming across the line and then ready to rope, that's when on a good steer, probably 3.7, 3.8, on a stronger steer, 4.2, 4.3. You kind of know, like, if as a header, where I've got to make sure I bring my first swing up, because I've got to be ready to be able to throw in this spot here, to where when that steer cleans up, that's where I'm going to have to be. And then to be even faster than that, that's when I have to start my swing nod, be able to feed, and then throw right at the line.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I got a chance on a good one to be dirty fast, like
mm-hmm.
when you seen Tanner Tomlinson.
Yeah.
So like as a header, there's a certain spot that you could bring your swing up to be able to throw from. But for me, like I would always have a 10 header before the NFR at home.
Mm-hmm.
Every day was a 10 header, not on every horse, but like I'd get on a couple of my good ones, a couple of my backups, and a couple of practice horse. And then one day I might just ride 10 of them just on my practice horse. And when I brought my swing and rode my horse and fed at the line and then threw, like I was 9 for 10 or 10 for 10 repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Like my catch ratio there was like 90 to 100% each time.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's when I knew I was the most confident, because I rode my horse good and the horns were coming to me. So like when you're talking about like where he was calling it, which is wild, the fact that he's never been to the NFR.
Yeah.
That he was calling it like, hey, look, I know exactly where I'm going to be in the middle of the arena, so we can be between this and that, 4.3 to 4.7, what you're saying,
mm-hmm.
and go in the average and win 22,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
no, he's done that a couple times. We roped at the Lone Star shootout because they had a bunch of them. They started doing like the 18 incentives or whatever. So anytime I've had a chance to enter with him, just because I enjoy roping with him, and he's a great run.
He's a winner.
It's not like I said, I'm not doing him a favor by any means. If anything, he's doing me a favor. But no, he told me that it was the first year we roped there, and I don't remember the exact scenario, but we were just not slow on the first one, but we were some kind of like maybe 5 flat or something. Like our steer tried a little bit or something, and we were in one of the rotations.
Didn't start.
Is that
he
what
didn't start? Yeah, remember he scored really good because
Yeah.
that steer didn't go nowhere.
Oh,
then he took off.
Well, I was talking at the Lone Star. Though.
Oh, got it. Oh, yeah, got it.
Well, it's first same thing at your deal, yeah.
Yeah.
But and then we were in one of them rotations where everyone's tapped off. It just happens on them formats.
Mm-hmm.
The George Strait format, Kojo, and all that. And this is again where he's got that veteran mind. He come up and he's like, hey, if we're 4.6, or he had some time, if we're that, I think we for sure make it. And I'm like, all right, perfect. And then it was kind of like you're up and we made the run. I think we were like 4.2 or something. We ended up being under the time, I think considerably, really, but
made it up. Yeah.
But he was almost dead on the other way. It was like, if we'd have been his number, I think we'd have been the cut. Like, it's just amazing that he sees it and has that knowledge at his age. I didn't have that. I don't know that I have it now, really, fully, but again, that's from growing up around Clay, and the way Clay's brain works and sees everything, and how realistic he is with himself and his boys, and he's one of them people that the mental thing's never really been a thing for him. Like he'll kind of look at you like you're silly if you try to talk mental game with him, because he's just real black and white. This is what we do. This is the mechanics of it. You miss because of this, or you caught because of this, and that's, it is what it is, and you move on. So,
and when you get that many reps like that guy has, And to me, it's speaking to fruition.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, that steer ran, was a little bit behind. I bet if we're 4-2, get a good one. And then you know how to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's when I think when guys struggle is they speak things into fruition that they haven't figured out how to get done on the practice pen.
Yeah.
Then it's unrealistic.
Yeah. 5 flat's a really good run for me, but we need to be 4-2 right here.
Exactly.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's when it struggles. But we talked about Hondo too, and some other partnerships that are probably the outside guys looking in. Caleb Driggers and Paul Leaves, $82,000 a team, $41,000 for each of them over there at the Hondo, a standalone event. What a great rodeo! But what happened with that partnership? How did those guys get paired up over there at the Hondo?
Well, I got caught into that myself because I didn't know for sure. I thought it was sure weird that Junior wasn't out there. I was like, man, that's really weird. And then maybe the rope horse futurity deal, they didn't really rope together there. So I finally called Andy because Andy was out there, and I was like, well, he'll know at least why Junior's not there. And there wasn't no drama to it at all. Junior has got a sponsor of his that is into the horse show part of things considerably, and the world show's going on that same weekend. So he needed to be up there showing horses and riding horses and to fulfill that obligation, and that meant more to him than going to the Hondo rodeo, even as good a rodeo as that is. And so the rumor mill is a funny thing to me, especially around Stephenville, Texas. That's if we could have our own gossip magazine where everybody could, they pair guys up. And I think it's just, especially when you're a young guy, you sit around, you speculate and you talk, and it's probably the same thing guys do at home, man. It'd be neat to see this guy and that guy rope together, man. I really think they do good if you could, and so they get to doing that, and it just sparks this rumor, and then off it goes, and then all of a sudden, everybody's roping with somebody different, and then 9 times out of 10, it ain't true. And I think I've been around it long enough now that I'll have some of them young guys that'll ask me, man, did you hear this? You think that's going to happen? And I was like, when we'll know for sure? When the books for Odessa open. That's when we'll know if they're roping together. And so
I had some clinics out there in Arizona, and I was hearing some stuff and some wild stuff about this guy and that guy, and this guy's roping this guy. I'm like, yeah, I've never heard that. And I was at that guy's house before I came out here roping, and so like, it's weird that he didn't bring anything up like that, and then they're like, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know. And then of course, and they're like, oh, you're just hiding it. I'm like, no, I've never heard what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
And at the time I was in the mix of it, and you're like, and it's wild. The other things that guys will just say like they know.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a big fan of like, if I don't know what's going on in that particular world, it probably means me and my partner are good. And I don't want to be involved in any of it. I don't want, because if say me and my guy are fixing to split, well, then all of a sudden I need to be involved. Hey man, what's this guy thinking? What's that guy thinking? And you're making phone calls and you're kind of filling everything out. And, it's almost like trying to find a horse. You need to know if somebody's willing to sell, and so it's, if I'm on the outside of that room, I want to be the last people that know about any of it. Like, holy cow, I can't believe them guys are open. Because, that means me and my guy are happy. We're doing our thing. And I would just soon it be that way. Yeah.
And there's some new partnerships, it looks like, going into 2026. I believe Tanner Thomason and Kobe Payne. That looks like that's going to be a good team.
Yep.
Who's some of the other new teams that you know of?
Coleman and TG will be roping.
Okay.
Yep. And so that's, I think that's 2 guys that have, at least wanted to rope together in the past a lot. And, the stars finally aligned for them to team up. So I think they'll do really good. And, I'm trying to think who else. I don't think anything as far as like the real marquee guys have swapped around besides those that I'm aware of, unless there's something else going on. But as far as I know, I think that's the main ones, at the top of the list.
Yeah. And then talk a little bit about like you and Andy's run. You guys have partnered up, I believe it was right before the Kojo last year. And it just like, bam.
Yep.
Trucks, trailers, got all the money. Like, damn, this team ain't going to take long. Like, these guys just annihilated through 3 runs and brought them probably one of the best, probably jackpots at the time you could win, in the fact of what it adds with money and prize line. And you're like, man, this team's just going to annihilate everybody this year. And then, it seemed like looking through the standings, it's like, man, I kind of wonder where these guys are a little bit going through the winter. And then, man, when I go out there, every time I look up, you guys are winning. Like, I go out there and watch Pecos because I had a clinic right there. Guys kick their ass at Pecos. You go out there to Greeley, watch short round. You guys just wipe them out at Greeley. And then I'm like, they're back. There it is. Like, like you knew, like once the outside showed cup the good head horses usually start really shining, and the guys that have runs in the middle of the arena are going to start just banging them. And then I kept through the standings, and I'm like, okay, well, where the heck? Like, I thought that momentum was there and it's going to take, but it started off fast, then it maybe slowed down, then it kind of got there, and then obviously we'll talk about the fourth quarter. But what was it that? Because I mean, you look at it on paper and you're like, yeah, that makes sense, that adds up. But like, what were some of the adjustments and things? Because it seems like every once in a while, a team will just off the bat. Then also there's some teams that like it takes a minute to work through a few things to kind of get on the same page to develop a run.
Yeah, it's well, it was kind of funny this summer. We should have probably just paid you to go with us because every time you were there, you were like our good luck charm. I don't know. Should have made you our mascot.
I loved it. And I love it too because I love Andy's horses. I love his style, and I love a healer that's crawling over one and just freaking, I love that. Like that's, that was kind of my style, but don't get me wrong. I still love when Dustin Squeak comes off the chute. Yeah. I love watching it when freaking Aaron Rodgers for the Packers and it was 4th and 25 and he freaking got 30 yards. I love having 5 deep shotgun. That's to me Dustin Squeeze.
Yeah.
So I love all the aspects of it, but like to watch because like I knew like your guys' run was there, and I was like, and then to watch it, I'm like, yeah, there's the momentum. There it is.
We had jackpotted. We'd been second partners the whole, I know for sure the year before. And so we'd gotten the rope quite a bit. And man, every time we got to enter, the run just felt effortless and it clocked good. And whenever the opportunity aligned for me and him to team up, me and Clint had 2 phenomenal years. I mean, honestly, the 2 best years of my career. So, I mean, really on paper, it was probably silly for me to even want to do something different. But Andrew was just a guy that I'd always wanted to rope with. I mean, it just seemed like our styles fit together and the way he set the steers up in the run. And so when we decided to rope, I thought, and I had a lot of people tell me that. They're like, man, you guys are going to come in number 1. You're going to win everything. Well, then we win the Kojo. And I'm like, man, this
expectations through the roof.
Oh, man. I'm like, I can't wait. Well, where I really messed up is I spent, my whole entire career of like when the head rope hits, action hits. I mean, we're rocking and rolling across there, and half the guys are borderline trying to outrun you. I mean, they're putting a lot of heat on the cow. So where I wasn't smart enough to put it all together is jackpot, and obviously you're making probably a, say an 80% run, 85% run. You're not trying to max out the steer. So Andy is real patient with the cow in the corner, and he takes so much longer as far as like shaping the cow up. He's real patient about making sure that they're easy to heel in the first hop and really opens them up. Well, my problem was I watched him and Bud rope and I'm like, man, he really puts a lot of heat on the cow. So we go to Odessa. He cranks it on the first one and I'm on top of him, rope a leg. I'm like, okay, whatever, go to Denver. He cranks it on him. I climb on top of him, I rope a leg. And I did that all winter. I mean, I just roped awful for us and I couldn't figure out how to ride the corner. And I'm like, man, I've run a million steers, but looking back, truthfully, the run was going too fast in my head. I get to trying too hard when I start with a new guy. I'm almost, for lack of a better way of putting it, I'm almost trying to show off for him. Like, I'm known for being an aggressive healer. I'm going to really show them what they got right here. And so I get to run it over myself a little bit. So the biggest lesson for me is we go to Red Bluff, and we placed on our first one. Drew a good one in the first round. I honestly didn't do a very good job on him, but I got him caught. Well, then the second round, man, our steer's really running. Well, Andy snaps it on him, and I'm like, my intuition as a fast healer is the further down the arena we go, the faster I'm going to throw, the more I'm going to try to help us shave time off. So, man, when it hit the horns, I get on the reins, I get to the front of the saddle, I get my rope ready, like I'm going to try to tattoo this cow. Well, then Andy goes another 40 feet down the arena before he turns him. So I'm literally sitting still in the arena basically by myself. I had to kick my horse back up, chase him around like a number 2 healer over to the left fence. I get him roped by 2 feet and then slip a leg on top of that. So, I mean, we end up being 15 or something on this steer. I mean, I just completely ruined the rodeo for us. Well, we do get a third one. Is the nice part. So I tell Andy, I'm like, I had a perfect angle of the camera. Like, it was one of the biggest blessings of a mess up that I've ever had. And so I tell him on the third one, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run into that back fence before I turn in too soon. And so, man, he snaps it on him. We draw one that runs and I just stay. as far to the outside as I can. Like I'm just push, and he literally just feeds the cow to me. I hammer him. We end up winning like third in the round on a pretty strong steer. And from then on, it slowly started to click. It still took me some time because it was just so out of the ordinary for me of like, I like to stay out on the outside, but it's like, man, that's such a different look than I'm used to. And so we really got it lined out. Our 4th of July was awesome. Man, we really clicked. We made some really good runs. Every time they gave us one that was winnable, we caught him and won. But we were so far behind from the winner. And so it really, all it did was just kind of catch us up to the bottom guys of the top 15. Well, then Casper rolled around and man, we roped okay. We just kind of dropped the ball on a couple of steers we didn't need to. And we still had an okay week, but it just wasn't great. Well, then we didn't do very good during the Spanish week, and Dodge was not great. So going up there in the Northwest, I remember when we got to Kennewick, we just set a goal, or it was more him, but he set a goal of like, I'm just going to see how many steers I can turn in a row. And he's like, if I turn you enough steers, you'll get a rhythm and we'll win plenty to make the finals. Because like at the time, I think we were still outside top 15.
Well, because now what we're talking about now is when we get to Kennewick, now it's pressure time.
Mm-hmm.
This is fourth quarter.
Yep.
Basically, I think the fourth quarter kind of starts right. To me, I think if I remembered right, it seemed like if I remembered, the season's probably pretty close to the same, but like, it seemed like about Dodge City closed off the end of the third quarter. Seemed like now when we move it up to Caldwell,
yep.
Fourth quarter starts. Here we go.
Caldwell can be that week.
Kennewick, you're right in the middle of the third, early in the fourth quarter, press time.
Mm-hmm.
Things need to start happening.
Yeah, and we might have been 15th or something, but I mean, it was a dogfight. I want to say I wasn't in the top 15. I think I was just outside of it. Well, then we missed our first one at Kennewick, and then he told me that night we're running our second one, and he says, hey, I'm just going to see how many in a row I can turn. I'm like, perfect. Well, I rope a leg on the first one and he turns. And from that moment, he said that I think the next steer he missed was at Puyallup, Washington. He turned 17 steers in a row. And I was able to heel 16 of the 17. I legged the first one and then I caught the rest of them. And one of the big deals that we did is we went to Coeur d'Alene, was actually our second steer in that mission. And we were in the first perf. And anybody that's rodeoed, man, it's hard to win in front of a rodeo. Like when you got to go early.
Got a first run.
Yeah.
Not a rerun.
Right.
First run
Even
early in the
us
perf.
Kind of knowing the steers. I'm bad to, if we're talking about poker or something, I'm bad to give everybody aces when it comes to the rodeo. Like I think everybody, if it's a 4-second rodeo, everybody's going to be 3-8 somehow. Like it's going to be the toughest rodeo in the history rodeo. And so I told him, I'm like, I'm going to get on board with we're just going to catch as many steers in a row as we can. We're going to react the best we can, make the best run we can. If we're happy with the run when we leave the arena, pretty good chance we're going to win something. I mean, they pay 15 monies most places we go, or at least 12. And so that was a perfect example. We go first perf. He gets a good start at the barrier, snaps it on him, steer checks off, like almost stops. Well, I have to really get on the reins on my horse, have to take another swing to let everything kind of get its momentum back. I think we go like 4-6 or something. Well, you're not, usually that's a pretty fast rodeo, so you're really not expecting much, but we won the perf. We leave the arena that night. And I said, you know what? I don't care if that wins 30th. Like, we made the best run we can. We reacted to the cow that we had. Mm-hmm. We're going to go on. That's 2 in a row for him. That's 1 in a row for me. And we took off. Well, I think we ended up splitting third by the time it was all said and done. And so we just kept that momentum going. I think we made.
Then didn't you go from there to Calgary?
Mm-hmm. Calgary was right at the beginning of this deal.
And Calgary was clutch.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Because that was a dub, wasn't it?
Yeah. We won Calgary.
Because that looked like that's when I started seeing the momentum shift.
Yep.
Then I seen you guys in the short round at Ellensburg.
Mm-hmm.
Then it seemed like short round at Pendleton, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Short round at Puyallup.
That's when I'm like, they found it.
Yeah, I think we won. Man, I didn't even realize that somebody had mentioned it to me, and I didn't put it all together till they said it, but I think we won like 80 or 90 grand from Kennewick to the very end of the year, and we didn't even do anything. I messed up all 3 of them at Sioux Falls. So I did tell him I missed more steers at Sioux Falls than I did the whole fourth quarter. So we only ran 3 steers. So it was that was a humbling experience, but that's the great thing about our sport. It's the first NFR I made, I come back and somebody needed to go to Northside, and I got my NFR coat. I'm high on the hog. We had a good finals, and I'm maybe either like 2 of the last 3 or whatever. Like both my runs are at the very end. Well, my first guy misses. Okay, no big deal. Second guy turns and want to win the rodeo, and I set it right beside him. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's nothing's guaranteed.
Nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah.
That is no lie. The Charlie Crawford Podcast is proud to partner with NRS. Don't forget to shop this destination for all things Western. NRS has everything you need from boots, hats, apparel, bits and spurs, saddles, ropes, feed, and more. Visit their flagship store in Decatur, Texas, as well as other locations in Granbury, Texas, and Wickenburg, Arizona. From your hat to your boots and everything in between, shop NRS in-store or online at nrsworld.com. That is no lie. Well, yeah, I've seen so many guys, though, that like, man, when they hit that momentum at the end, usually so many times I've watched that carry over to the NFR. You know, like back in the old days, I remember Wheatley and Kyle Lockett one time just wiped him out at the end and freaking get this momentum, show up at the NFR and got a chance to win the world title at the end, you know, from barely making it.
Yeah.
Had to rope their way into the NFR, and then that momentum carried when they got to the NFR and dang near win the world. Seen Speedy one time where he was 40,000 behind Richard Eguren and BJ Campbell, and goes to that Pace Picani shootout up there, I think in Omaha or whatever. Maybe it was Dallas at the time, and just ding him. 35 grand, get within 10,000 of them guys, and then that same momentum just carried on over the NFR and watch him win the world. And so there's a lot to that momentum at the end of the year where it usually seems to have a very strong history of carrying over to the NFR.
Yeah, and I think it's like that in any sport. It's our season is so unique because, again, our winter rodeos are so spread out. So, like, by the time we go to Reno, we've really only been to 10 or 12 rodeos, and we go to 80. So from, you know, the start of June till the end of September, which is not really that big a span of time in the course of the whole year, we're going to, 80 or 90% of what we're going to the whole year. And so it's such a weird thing. Like, the winter is so huge, the money's so huge. But I've had them winters where, man, everything went my way and we just won everything. And then the summer wasn't very good. And it made the year feel so much longer. Like, where this year I was struggled in the winter, and then not that we just killed it all summer, but, you know, like we rock and rolled pretty good enough. And the year seems so much more, in a way, relaxed, because when you're going to one every single day, it feels like, or maybe 2 a day, all of a sudden you're clicking and you're rolling and it's easy and it's fun. But that summer becomes such a, if you're talking about the mental game, like, it'll beat you down, because we talked about it yesterday, the sleep habits, even, like
the mental exhaustion. You're past a point of exhaustion.
Yeah, man. And that's something that you can't practice. The fact of, like, yeah, I think that's one of the main differences between pro rodeo and an amateur rodeo, is there's a lot of amateur rodeo guys that rope great. I mean, it's not like they don't have the talent. The talent's there. They may have a great horse. But when you don't get to sleep in your own bed and you don't get to come home and detox your horse and stay in your routine.
For practice.
Yeah, in practice. That's something that you can't, until you go through it. And everybody's wired different. Some guys it don't hardly affect, and there's other guys that'll make them unravel. And so it's a huge part of it.
Well, because I remember one year we talked about yesterday too, was like, I remember one time I got to Cheyenne, drove all night, roped that morning, and I went to go look for a stall, and, like, no, you know how that is. Everyone's piled in there, and I couldn't find a stall. And just, I mean, everything on the inside, you'd gone however long. And whether we were winning, whether we were losing, there's something to that a little bit too on the psyche also, but when you're exhausted, you're past the point of burnout and exhaustion. Like, I couldn't even make a decision.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what do I do? Do I get a pin? I'm like, then nothing would happen. Like, mentally not there, but then so mad internally on the inside, because it's like, dude, you can't even make a decision. Like, and you're just frustrated, you know what I mean? And I remember calling Bambi, and I was like, Bambi, can I just come to the house? I know you don't live very far from here, but I haven't slept in this long. And I said, man, can I just put my horse out there and just go to sleep? I said, I know you got, and of course, you know, Bambi, get your ass over here, Chuck, for crying out loud. You know you're more welcome, you know. I'm like, all right, I was looking for a stall. I was just going to crash here and make it simple, but I hate to crash because I know there's so many guys over there. It's like, get your ass over here. We'll make it work. Get up there, makes a pin for me. I kick both my horses out through like a bale of hay out there. Fired up the generator, and it was like probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Slept till about 8.
Yep.
And then got up that night, came back, grabbed my horses, fed them again, went and grabbed something to eat, came back, slept again. I don't know, I slept for like 20-some hours.
Yeah.
But the next day, it was like, oh, my brain's back.
Yeah.
You know, my emotions are now in check, you know, Because, like, you think about that. I mean, when you're there and you're there that long and you're just past the point of it, it's hard to make decisions. It's hard to make the right choices. It's hard to make those reads. It's hard to react in a way where it's actually sensible.
Mm-hmm.
When they see these guys throwing fits, like sometimes, like, it's so hard at that moment when you're past that to be able to think clearly.
Yeah, it's well, and it's cool when you have people that you can stop at their house and they understand. Hey, man, I know I'm not going to see you for a day and a half because you need to go rest. You know what I mean? And because I think we feel bad is, they're in their routine of everyday life. And then when we come in, we want to hang out with them. They want to hang out with us. We want to fellowship. But then it's so hard when it's like, I just need sleep. I just need to decompress and be kind of by myself and let it. But as hard as it is, even like you said, to make a decision on a stall and what to do with your horse and all that, then on top of that, try to back in. And now we got to be four. I mean, Cheyenne's not this way, but now I got to back in somewhere and try to be 4 flat. And I got to hit the barrier and worry about the steer and worry about that. And I'm so exhausted I can't see straight, and I might be running on 2 hours of sleep. I mean, there's just there's a lot that goes into it that the people that have went through it understand, but I think the common fan just sees the glitz and the glamour of it. And we do get to see, a lot of the country, and we get to do some really cool things. And obviously now there's getting to be decent money in it. Before it was dang sure, you could tell everybody, like, there's not enough money in it. Like, you'd better love it. You'd better be infatuated with it if you're going to do it, because you're going to be really hard on your rig, your horses, yourself, your mind, your family. I mean, what the family goes through. My wife is stuck at home because, our life's turned into a circus somewhat with all the animals we have. And I just feel awful for them, the sacrifices that they make. They'll call me, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm out here playing golf. Just, had a day off, so I'm going to sleep in, play a little golf, enjoy my day. What are you doing? Oh, I'm feeding 15 head of horses and got to take the girls to 3 different things in town. And you know what I mean? So it's so unfair to them. And really without them, you know what I mean? Like it'd be impossible to rodeo, truthfully. So
yeah, the support team. But when you're talking about, passion has to be there, because it has to be something when you grow up that you love, because it consumes you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be thinking about it when you wake up in the morning. You got to be working at it all day long. You got to be focused on it when you go to bed. You dream about it. I mean, you're just 100% in and consumed about it, because if it's not, man, then to me, it's too easy to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of a lot of what your career, when I look back at it, me also too, and so many guys is, it took me 10 years, I think, from when the time I started to make that first NFR. And there's a lot of times I wanted to pull up. There's a lot of times that, if I didn't love it, then I wouldn't have made the career out of it. Like, and I was the same way. Once or twice, man, if I could make it once or twice, make enough money to buy my own place, man, that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could work from there and fill out the rest, but the fact that it was just consumed and that was all I thought about, and all, like, that got me there. And everyone has a different way on how they got there.
Mm-hmm.
Hard work's basically the foundation of it. But then after that, some guys make it right off the bat. Some guys have, enough opportunity where, they put in the hard work and they have all the things there, and then they figure out how to do it and they make it. And then some guys, man, they grind and find out a lot of different ways to make it. And sometimes, like that meme that you see on social media where the guy was digging for gold and he's just out there with that pick.
Mm-hmm.
And finally he gets exhausted. He's like, I just can't do it no more. I can't. He pulls up and he walks away and he goes, and he was an inch away from the gold.
Mm-hmm.
One more strike, man, and he was there.
Yeah.
And you think about it, man, how many guys were fortunate enough to keep digging and found it? And then, man, how many guys right there got so close and just kind of gave up with whatever circumstances it was. And to me, that reminded me a lot of kind of, when you first got your card and where you got to where you were at now to be a veteran.
Yeah, it's that's pretty much exactly how my story went. So I bought my card right away when I was 18. Again, had no aspirations of anything as far as like, making the NFR right off the bat or really anything. It was just like, hey, I'm old enough to go to them. This is super cool. Let's go. Well, I college rodeoed, and I did go one summer. I roped with a guy named Ty Thomas, and he had a girlfriend in Idaho. And so we roped at the college rodeos, and then he's like, hey, do you want to go up here? We went to St. Paul, Reno, Greeley, and then we just kind of circuit rodeoed around Idaho. Well, this is how just different from everything, like looking back, how detached I was from everything, I guess. But like we did that little circle. We had a good time. Well, we come back home, and I'm broke. I mean, I don't have any money at all. Well, we were supposed to go to, this sounds so stupid saying it out loud, but we were supposed to go to Dodge City and that whole week. So he lived in McKinney, Texas, and I live in Coffeyville, Kansas, which is 3 hours from Dodge City, or probably 4 hours from Dodge City. But I'd never been. So Dodge City might as well have been on the other end of the earth for me. Like, so I tell him, I'm like, hey, I'm going to have to ride with you, man. I don't have enough money to make this trip or whatever. And so he shows up there, and I guess he thought I was kidding or something, but he had a full rig and somebody else with him. And I mean, I panic. I just full out panic. I end up turning this out the whole week because I'm like, I can't, you want me to go to Dodge City, Kansas from Coffeyville, Kansas on my own? Like, I can't do that. And I'm 20 years old at the time too. It's not like I'm, 16 or something. And so, but I was just broke. I didn't understand it. And so I've seen this game from every, I guess, angle and aspect of what everybody can be in. But I was 23 the first year that me and Coleman decided that we were going to see if we had what it took. We were going to take off rodeoing. And man, we just hit it like gangbusters. We won second at San Antonio. If it had tour rodeo in front of the PRCA, we won at it. Like, I don't know what it was. So we were that team that showed up at the end of the year, and I'm 22nd in the world, but, and they only take 10 teams to Dallas, Texas that year, and I'm one of those 10 teams. And I think Travis Tryon was number 1 in the world, and he wasn't there. So, but it was just, that's how the chips fell. We didn't get it done that year, and that was, I remember leaving Dallas thinking, I had the greatest year I could possibly have, and I didn't. Like, how do these guys do it year in and year out? I couldn't even wrap my brain around it. Well, then me and Coleman roped the next 2 years, ended up going home at Cheyenne both years. Like, just, I couldn't do it, didn't have the money, wasn't doing good enough. Well, come 2010, Coleman was going to rope with Caleb Twisselman, and I had asked some guys around the house that I thought roped really, really well, and I couldn't get nobody to rope with me. And so Driggers, who I didn't really even know that great at the time, he tells me about a guy named Corey Kidd, who everybody knows now, and it was going to be his rookie year. And so Driggers gives him a head horse to take off on, and me and him go to Denver, and we rope all the way through Tucson. Well, we're just not doing as good as we need to. I'm sure looking back, it was mostly my fault or whatever. My game wasn't quite where it needed to be at the time. I needed to work on some stuff, and we go to Tucson, and Travis Graves was roping with Clay Tryon at the time. And I just, as I'm walking up to the back of the roping boxes, because I'm not that far away from running one, he goes, hey, I got a guy you need to rope with. I got your next partner. And I'm like, okay, who you got? Well, just so happened Brady Tryon's in the box and turns, to this day, the fastest year I've ever seen at Tucson. I'll never forget it. And I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty fun. I mean, I'd probably try that out. Well, the next day, I couldn't even enter the Mike Survey roping, so I'm in the stands just watching it. And Brady comes up to me, and we get to visit, and he's wanting me to go out to California with him. And I'm still so green at everything that I'm like, well, has he just asked me to go to like 3 rodeos, or, does he want me to be his partner? Like, I don't even really understand it for sure. So I'm like, well, I'm going to have to talk to my wife and stuff, because again, I mean, broke. Like, I've been a rodeo bum. We're living on a teacher's salary at the time. We have a kid. My oldest daughter was already born. And so, like, I'm just draining as dry as I possibly can and bringing nothing to the table. And so, I tell her, I'm like, I'll tell you what we could do. I could get a credit card. We can max it out, and this will be my last hurrah. So I'm basing my entire career on 3 rodeos, looking back on it. And so she's like, she's just been a rock for me my whole time. So, she's like, yeah, whatever we need to do, let's try it. So I'm like, okay. Well, then the George Strait, fast forward to it, it's, I think a month after Tucson. So me and Brady have decided to rope. We're entered at Huntsville, and we're entered in California. We're not even entered at the George Strait roping together. I'm roping with Coleman and Cody Graham, and I honestly don't remember who my third run was at this point, but I make it to the second day with both them guys. But to back up just a little bit before the roping, I thought I was going to have to skip the roping because I had to end up calling Barry Berg down there at Cactus. And I was like, hey, B, I know you've kind of done some sports gambling on the side. You like to bet on college basketball and stuff. And I said, is there any chance I can steal a little bit of money from you? And he's like, absolutely, man, whatever you need. And I'm like, hey, I have no clue how long it'll take me to pay you back. Like, I will pay you back, but I have no clue how long. He's like, don't you worry about it. I'll take it down there. You're taken care of. Don't worry about it. I'm like, awesome. Okay. So he goes down there, pays my fees, gets me in the roping. Well, then we go through the roping, and I make it back with Cody and Coleman, and me and Coleman are second callback, and we're a ways off of it's Luke and Caesar. They were high call. Well, we catch the short round steer. We go to the lead of the roping, and I mean, we are whipping each other, chasing each other around the arena, and Caesar ended up slipping a leg, hammered the cow, like did a great job, just lost a leg. So we end up winning the roping. And so for the first time in my life, I've got, I've got money. I've got something that is sustainable.
And a rig.
And a rig. And it was kind of funny because somebody's like, I can't believe you idiots were running around the arena like that. Like you just knew you were going to win the rope. And I'm like, that was going to be the biggest check I'd ever seen in my life, regardless.
That was food.
Yes.
That was, that's like my breath just came away because like I know what that, it's not even the victory. It's the fact like relief.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that, because second place there is strong.
It was 40 grand.
Yeah.
I remember it. It was 80 for first in the rig. It was 40 for second. I think the biggest check I'd ever won at one time to that point in my life was like $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like,
that's instant relief.
It was blowing out everything. I couldn't even wrap my brain around it. Well, then me and Brady go to Huntsville, Texas, and we win $2,500. And it was the first time in my life that it was like, oh, that's cool. We won $2,500, and not like, oh man, I can afford to go the next week. I can afford, you know what I mean? Cause like before then, if I had $2,000 in my name, we were high on the hog. I mean, like everything's great. And so a lot of times it was, $400 or $500 in the bank, and hey, you're going to have to skip this roping or skip this week or whatever. And kind of let that teacher, the stuff my wife put up with, really looking back, is pretty incredible that she, stuck with me and let me chase this dream as long as I did. Cause she would have had every right to shut that down. You know what I mean? We're married with a kid, and all you're doing is wasting money the whole time.
When you think about it, the risk both of you took, you were literally that guy with that pitch.
Yeah.
That axe that was digging for that gold and was just that far away, like, all right, one more swing, and otherwise that's all we got.
Yeah.
That's the pick's done. The handle's about to break.
Yeah.
Everybody's exhausted. Like, that's the last one we got. And then sure enough, that one hits gold to George Strait. And then just the momentum, I guess, after that, huh? And then carried throughout the year.
Well, the biggest thing for me was getting around. We buddied with Travis, which was Brady's brother. And I
talk about when you get around the mentality.
Yeah. I was
the family of like the way people think and expect to win.
Well, I was just so in awe of all them guys. So, like, I remember the first time I went to Travis's house and we're going to practice, and Hillary steps out of the house and says hi to me, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Travis Trian's wife. You know what I mean? Like, I was in complete, even though I had rodeoed and kind of been around everybody, I hadn't really hung around everybody. I kind of stayed to myself, did my own thing. Coleman was, shocker. He was the social butterfly and, had all them connections really to everybody. And I was more acquaintances with all of them. I mean, I'd said hi or whatever. Everybody was super nice. It wasn't none of that, but I just didn't have that close connection. But to get around Travis and a little bit of Clay at the time, and to really see guys that they bought their card to go to the NFR. There was no, this is just what we do. And being from where I was, it was just such a pipe dream. Like, I couldn't, it was something that I was trying to pull off that like seemed unsurmountable, really. And so getting around them guys and learning that mentality. And then as you start to do good and your name's in the standings, and, that part of me's wanting to be like, oh my God, I can't believe, look at me. I'm in the top 30 and I'm in the top 20, and oh gosh, dang, this could be a real deal. Well, to them guys, it's just, this is what we do. And they congratulate you. They pump you up and build you up and do their part. But even when we did pull it off, and I'm glad the first year that it was kind of hard to make, truthfully, like, to go through that grind and to have to be in those pressure moments over and over and over. I mean, it was a full year. It didn't feel like it at the time because I was just honored to be even in the conversation of making the NFR. And so, but looking back on it, for a solid month, we had pressure run after pressure run and pressure moment, and we ended up securing it at Pendleton. We won second at Pendleton, and that's what put us over the top. And, all those memories to go through. There's, we flew down to Albuquerque and we roped there, and then we had to fly back up to rope in those short round of Pendleton. Well, we had a flight delay, which I don't know why I was so calm at the time. Brady was kind of freaking out. I think he had a better grasp of what was going on. I was, Coleman picks us up at the airport at Pasco there at Tri-Cities, and it's, what is it, an hour and a half or something to Pendleton, or probably an hour probably to the arena. Well, they team rope forever down into Pendleton, so we've got plenty of time, but we feel rushed because we're like, man, we're running hot here. Well, Coleman being Coleman, about every 10 minutes he'd just look at Brady and be like, hey man, you want to stop and get something to drink? You thirsty? I just, oh, man, I'm kind of hungry. You guys sure you don't want to stop and grab something? I can whip in here and get us a burger. It ain't no big deal. And Brady's about to crawl through his skin, and when we got there with plenty of time, but stories like that. And
because you and Coleman are used to just pulling alongside the road and just roping your dummy.
Yeah. There's times that we'd pull over and rope it for 3 hours. And so, it's, but stories like that where it just, the mentality to have to come through. But like we talked yesterday, when you're that broke kid and you've had to rope for food and rope for survival, there's a different level that you can tap into at any moment that you really, really need to. And I think that's the hard part for like maybe some of the guys that are a little bit better financially set up when they come into the game. They may have the talent, they may have the horses, they may have the avenues to set it up, but
never been hungry.
Can they find that dog in them?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard, like if you've had to have it because you didn't have another choice, it's almost easy to find. If you can't find it in that moment, it ain't there.
Yeah.
But if you're, on the other realm of it, I don't know how you force yourself into finding that necessarily. It's way too easy to be comfortable. But I spent a lot of years going to the finals and just enjoying it. I really did. And then 2016 rolled around and should have won a world title. Me and Luke had it. It was 100% ours. I think going into round 7, we're winning the average, winning the world. I mean, all we got to do is knock 4 more of these down and it's over. Well, I dropped the ball, 100% my fault. And that one ate at me, man, because I had never really choked nothing away. I mean, I'd always been the guy that had come through in the clutch, was really proud of that moment or that, characteristic, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I spent the next probably 5 NFRs trying to make up for that one. And I would practice and I would show up out there, and I mean, I'm pissed off from round 1. I'm going to put my foot on their throat. I'm winning round 1. I'm going to win, 5 rounds this year. We're going to run away with a gold buckle. And I had some okay finals in there. It's not that it always went terrible. And I remember when me and Clint first roped, this would have been 2 years ago. I think I was just tired. I was just tired of being angry and tired of fighting it and trying to force things. And me and him, neither one of us had great winners. So we were playing kind of like me and Andy this year. We were just playing catch up all year. And so we really didn't have the finals made for him, it was literally the last year of the year. For me, I'd made it earlier in that week. So, I mean, I was truly grateful to not that I wasn't grateful before, but I think it exposed how vulnerable it was for me that hey, this ride could be over right now. And I didn't want to look up and go, man, the last 5, 10 NFRs, whatever, I was just miserable. I didn't enjoy them. And then I would give anything to go back and enjoy it. So I told him, dude, the one thing I want out of this finals, I don't care if we win $1. I want to enjoy it. I told my wife, we're going to go to the arena early again. We're going to fellowship with people. We're going to just soak it in. And we talked about yesterday, it just being a God thing. Man, when I let go, when I quit trying to do it myself, we did everything that I had tried to do on my own. It just came so effortless. I decided I wasn't even going to heal that fast. I was just going to heal the cow when he was healable. And we won 3 of the first 4 rounds. I mean, it was storybook stuff. And then later in the week, I'd really been telling everybody, hey man, I've had a change of heart. I'm really enjoying it. And then everybody's like, well, yeah, I'd be enjoying it too. Yeah, that's great. You picked a great time to do that. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, man, I know we're having the results, but I'm telling you, it's different. In my heart, it's different. Well, round, I don't even know what it was. Might have been round 6, 7, something like in there. I come around, heal the tar out of one. We're fixing to win another day money. And for whatever reason, I slipped 2 feet. And I still, I've watched the run several times. There's nothing glaring that either one of us did wrong. It just wasn't meant to be. And for the first time in my life, for something that major to happen, I didn't leave the arena mad. I mean, I was disappointed. I wanted to catch 2 feet, but it was more of just oh man, I thought I did a good job right there. And I really wasn't. And I talked to Hawk or Chase Trine, who's me and him are really good buddies. We talk all the time. And I said, man, I wish people could actually see that, like, in this moment is where the change is. It's not, obviously, in the good times, it's super easy to be happy and, like, hoorah and everything. But, like, I can really feel the difference in this moment. And I did make a little video on Facebook, and probably be the last video I ever make. That's not really my thing, but I wanted everybody to know what God had done in my life and what he had done for my spirit and my mind and my soul. And I think it touched a lot of people in that moment. And the cool thing about even that week too, is anytime that I'd ever done good at the finals, or you start doing good, even at a big rope or whatever, that pride starts coming up, that chest poke. Look at me, look at what I'm doing, wait till you see me tomorrow. And at no point did I feel any of that. It was just pure grateful. And, I was just in awe of what he was doing for us at the time. And then what I've had to learn going forward now is, I thought I turned that corner. That's over. I'm done, being mad and being upset. And we lost my uncle. I believe it was 2 years ago now. And, I wear a tie-dye shirt at the finals. I wore it for him just to kind of honor his memory and what he meant for our family. And
now, what was it with the tie-dye and the relationship with him?
He wore tie-dye forever. Like when I was a kid, that's all I remember.
That was his memory. That was his thing.
That was his style. And he was one of them guys, he could kind of hang out with anybody. I had like an uncle of mine. He's like, yeah, he could hang out with the hippies in the afternoon and the cowboys at night. Like, it didn't matter. He kind of just flowed, and he was kind of just carefree, and he was a good guy. And so I started wearing it for him, and then I wore it the next year, any Big Short round I was in, kind of like, that was just kind of became the thing. Well, then this year I really noticed, probably through me and Andy kind of not doing as good as I thought we would do, I started feeling those emotions pop up again. Man, I'm getting angry. I'm getting overly frustrated, and God bless Andy. He's impossible to be upset around. He just won't let you do it. And so, he was a great partner, or has been a great partner for me, in that aspect also. But I wore that tie-dye shirt at Calgary, and to everybody else in the world, they're like, oh, you brought out the winning shirt. Because every time I've wore it, I've won money. Like, it's kind of been I think everybody almost thinks it's my superstition now, because I think I've won all but maybe one time. I've ended up winning something pretty good when I wore it. But I woke up that morning and I could feel myself like kind of tense and tight. And I had to almost take a deep breath in the trailer and like, and maybe this was just God guiding me too, but it was almost like I just happened to see the shirt I even had another shirt in my hand. I wasn't planning on wearing it. And then it was almost like, you need to remind yourself that, like, this isn't the end all be all. This is your passion. We're trying our hardest at this deal, but it's not what's going to get us through to the end. And so I put the shirt on, and I mean, it was just like immediately it lifted the pressure off of me, and I just enjoyed the day. And then obviously the day went great, but it wasn't ever, I'll even have there's a few of the calf ropers in other events that even notice when I wear it, like it's become, cause I'm not a real standout guy. I mean, I've always kind of been off in the corner by myself, and I'm fine if you don't even notice that I'm there. And so for me to wear something like that, it's, I'm putting myself out there more than I'm really trying to, but it's just become more of be in the moment and enjoy this ride, because we never know how long it's going to last and when it's going to be over. And God's blessed me with an unbelievable talent and an opportunity to chase a dream that I never thought I'd get to chase. And so,
I think it's so cool when you talked about that Facebook post. I think that's what's so strong about when Jesus talks about being able to deliver your testimony. Mm-hmm. There's power behind that, and he can use anyone. That's what I tell everyone about my military event. Who would have thought that a team roper would be able to raise, almost 1.5 million for, military first responders and their family, because God gave me a gift, but I was able to utilize it and glorify him through it. And that's when I feel like guys can see what their true potential is, that he can use anyone. Look at our 12 disciples. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about your journey and where you're at in your relationship with God, that relates to somebody. That is going to inspire someone that's in the same realm that you're in, or the same outlook that you have. That's going to relate to, when there's that many people out there that are able to give those testimonies, you relate to that many more people. Like for me, what stands out, I think is awesome, is that what I struggled with so much too was, that's what they call the self-death, or giving your body to Christ, being able to physically and emotionally be a servant, not being on yourself. That to me is, I always knew when I'd lose focus of that, because if I started hearing the word I out of my conversation, oh man, I'm focused on me again too much. Like, oh man, you see, I didn't ride my horse very good, man. I didn't win over here. I was like, oh man, I'm focused on me too much again. Like that reminder that, hey, I love what Trevor always said when people ask him, like, when you ever threw a fit, he's like, it ain't big enough. It ain't big enough.
It's funny. Well, two things. I heard Kobe Bryant say that one time. Like, you miss a shot and you feel like the whole arena is looking at you. And you're like, you might as well get over it. You're not that important. And you're really not. Like, anytime we miss a cow, it's funny how many times I'll go find somebody and you're almost looking for them to be like, hey man, it's okay. And then how many times are they like, oh man, I didn't even see you go. Like, I don't know what happened. And then you have to tell them, oh, I did this. I look like an idiot. And they're like, oh, it'll be okay. But it's 80% of the people weren't even watching you. And so, I mean, obviously it's going to be different at the NFR or something, but my wife, anytime that I get caught in that, she'll just pray for somebody else,
A lot to that.
Yeah.
Lift to that gets you off yourself.
Yeah. Lift somebody up, quit thinking about, because it's not up to us to, pull ourselves out of the rut or to fix our attitude in that aspect of things. I mean, it's got to be, having that true change of heart has been big for me. I'm still struggling with it. I mean, it's not, I don't know if it'll ever go away. It's that competitive nature in me. And it's, it's just, it's ingrained so deep into me that I don't know if it'll ever be. I would love to be like Trey Johnson and just be like, man, I missed one, but isn't life great? And I mean, like, I'm sure he's still disappointed he missed the cow, but like,
thank you, Jesus.
It's just, it's just roping a cow. And that's what I told you yesterday.
One of the greatest men I've ever met.
This is earlier this year. I mean, I told this story like it was, several years ago, but we were at Corpus at the rodeo, and this is right in the middle of me and Andy struggling, and I can't figure it out, and I can't wrap my brain around it. And I see Trey, and just like he does every time, man, how are you? You need anything? You need to talk about it? You want me to pray with you? Anything? He's a great leader and mentor for all the rodeo cowboys. It's not like I'm nothing special
he's
in that
aspect. He's the Charlie
aspect.
Kirk of our industry.
Yes,
for sure.
And so he asked me, and boy, I just floodgates. Man, I can't catch. My horse feels terrible. Man, I can't get the rhythm with my new guy. And I mean, I said, I bet I whined for 15 minutes to him, and God bless him. He just sat there and looked at me and listened and nodded, and man, I'll pray with you for vision and clarity and focus. And we did. And then we get done, and I'm like, man, what have you been up to? You've been traveling? He's like, man, I've been over in Africa, and I've been hanging out with these kids, and I've been really delivering Christ to the region that they don't know anything about Christ. And we've been able to get water to these kids. And, if they get a bag of rice, it's like Christmas morning. And he goes to tell me all this stuff that he's been doing. And I'm like, I didn't tell him at the time, but it made me feel like such an idiot. And then I ran into him at your Open. It's the first time I've really sat down and seen him since. And I said, man, it's kind of funny because I would like to know what you were truly thinking in the middle of like everything that you're seeing go on in this world, the true downtrodden of the world. And I'm over here whining and complaining because I can't rope a cow by the back feet. Like, I mean, it's just, but it's hard because it is our passion. It is everything that I've poured my soul into, my sweat, blood, sweat, and tears into. And so I struggle a little bit with that fine line of like, it's okay that it's important to us, but then it's not that important in the grand scheme of life. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's been an eye-opening thing to me of like, it's going to be a continual battle, I think. I don't think it's something that I'm just going to be able to.
Well, I think having brothers is so important, having those guys that, that when you're able to unload it and kind of get it out of your system to where it's not festering, it's amazing where you have those brothers and that discipleship and fellowship, like you say, too, with other people and other guys that they understand. They know what you're going through. And then sometimes once it almost comes out, you're like, you almost feel better in the time. And then sometimes even just talking about it, because I think the overthinking a lot of times to me, it relates to like when your chain fell off your bike to where when you were winning, that bike was just rolling. You weren't even thinking about it, but then the chain falls off and now you're pedaling your ass off. You ain't going nowhere. Mm-hmm. To me, that's when you're searching for an answer. Like, what is it? Why are we not hitting? Like, he heads good. I heel good. Why is this bike not moving? Mm-hmm. And sometimes just almost the conversation, sometimes I've found to where there is almost like a little bit, I wouldn't call it therapy, but in the fact that like there was almost some revelation that would show up in the middle of the conversation that would talk about it. And you're like, you almost find that answer to put the chain back on the tracks again. So there's having those guys to where, and then when you get it out of your system, then you're like, oh, that actually felt good. But then also too is like, man, remember it's not big enough. And the fact also too is like where you put it in perspective of like, this family literally just was wrapping their arms around him for having running water. We found running water for our horses 3-4 times a day. Like the gratitude that a guy has to be able to do what we are able to do in the only country other than United States almost at this level to be able to compete like this is only here. And so I'm thankful, for this country and thankful for the people, that's what Trey will talk about is like, all right, we understand what's wrong. That's fine. We got to figure out the answer for sure. But then, okay, what are we thankful for? Because he always says, man, it's hard to be disappointed and grateful at the same time.
Yeah.
And then finding, okay, we still got to fix this problem. It's fine. But man, what are we grateful for? Because it almost is. It's a mind shift in the fact of like, freeze your mind, freeze your expectations. And there's so much to it. And I think what you said too, just with the fact that guy is a man.
Yeah.
Sometimes just being in that guy's presence. We were out here open one time, and I been trying to get this horse that aged out of maturities and get him ready and start seasoning him at these jackpots. And he's 7 years old, so I mean, the ability to be able to sit there and see a start and blast on a green horse, it takes some trial and error to where they anticipated a little bit earlier. When they're 12, they've got it.
Right.
You're trying to get them mature enough to help them with that stage to be able to get mature and seasoned. And I was telling him we were praying before we roped, and I said, well, Trey, I really feel like praying for patience as this horse is developing this, trying to help him along with this. I need to be patient. I think my expectations are too high. One of the best sayings I ever heard was, we're in horsemanship, where knowledge ends, anger begins. And so like, all right, I've got to think, and not react. And I got to think and try to help and get inside his head and put this puzzle together, And Trey says, it's great to pray for patience, but he said, pray for the development of patience because it's in you. It's in you to be patient. You just got to develop it. Everyone has the gift of being able to do things. You just got to be able to pray for the development of it because it's in you. Got it. And I even said, okay, how did you say that again? Because I wanted to make sure how he said it. I wanted to get it inside my head so I can get consistent with saying that. And then sure enough, Jackie came and wrote with me the next day, and I was talking about praying for patience and development of patience, talking about what Trey said. So I said, I'm trying to figure out where this horse is needing some confidence. How do I be the leader and be able to help this horse gain that confidence in these times where he can get consistent enough to where he starts trusting what I'm trying to say, where he's getting nervous in certain spots.
Yeah.
She showed me that day in the box where to give him some release, where to pet him, where to let him relax, where to let him move forward, where he was coming back. And her eyes was what I couldn't see. I knew it. I teach it every weekend.
Right.
But I didn't see it. I needed those
You're almost
extra
too close
eyes.
to it. Yeah.
And my emotions probably too were like, why can't you figure this out by now? That was kind of taking effect too. Between there and the corner where he was getting anxious and wanting to step out, where she would have stop. All right, now pet. Now just let him know right here. This is the time to relax. So then that way, now when you hook up, he's waiting for you to show him where to go. Just little things, little things. Well, what I didn't realize was till that night was I was praying for the development of patience. What I had prayed for is what Jackie had fulfilled with the knowledge of where that patience needed to be applied to develop it, to help lead that horse to be. And I could just feel him getting more and more confident after that day. And I told Trey about that when we got to the Spicer Grip because we roped over there. And I said, man, remember when we prayed for that? I said, man, the next day, Jackie helped me with a couple little things right here. It wasn't big, but it was just enough that it was what I was praying for. I said, oh man, that's awesome. Charlie, man, did you tell Jackie that she was the answer to your prayers? I think I skipped that part. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. I wish you'd have been standing there. That would have been a great reminder because, man, that would have went a long way.
Yeah. Well, it is funny to me how, I had almost the exact same thing with Andy's been helping me a little bit in the box. Like that new horse I got, his only flaw is he looks
so good.
Man, he's an awesome horse.
That's a nice horse.
Thank you.
I love him.
He's and he's been a godsend too. I feel like all of my animals have been. I've been very, very blessed with good horses along the way, and them being placed in our lives at the right times. And but it's not even really a flaw, but he gets a little tight in the box. He don't necessarily score bad. But he's a little tight in there. And Andy is about like Trey, just one of the most patient, happy, humble people you can be around. And so he's helping me a little bit with the box deal. We're up there at Scott Rep's house. And so he's explaining, hey, same deal. Step here, go here, relax here, do all this. And the horse ain't getting it. I'm not getting it. I'm starting to get mad. And I'll never forget it. And he's over there in the box talking to me. My horse turns around and he goes to take off. And I mean, I reach and I am fixing to float his teeth as hard as I possibly can. And something stopped me. And I just looked over at Andy and he's just grinning from ear to ear. And he's like, you're going to have to be a little more patient than that. And I'm like, okay. But that old me of like you said, my knowledge was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm angry.
Yeah.
I'm angry because I'm not getting the result I want. And that's what he always tells me. He's like, he goes, I think it's funny when people whip on their horses and stuff because they're only doing things that we've instilled in them. So we've either taught them wrong or not been able to show them correctly. And then we're just getting mad and taking it out on them. So that's been a very eye-opening experience for me also being around him. And then it's always funny to me how anytime you'll pray for something, say I want to work on my attitude. Well, it's funny how like the only way to work on the attitude is have something go wrong. I mean, it's not, hey, God.
The test is there.
Yeah. Like you got to give me something.
Yep.
So it's not like, hey, God, I want to react better to losses. Well, you're not going to go win 10 rodeos in a row and work on it. It's going to be like, okay, well, if you want to work on it, here it is.
Yeah.
And then, I've felt that test plenty. But then,
well, and the horsemanship too, because I mean, to me, that's like the Bible. It's a book that never ends.
Yeah.
That's where you watch those fraternity guys and those guys that are riding this many horses a day. Their knowledge of how they're able to put those puzzle pieces together on each individual horse, their knowledge is just gaining. But it didn't come overnight. It takes a long time to find that. There's a lot to that.
Well, and it's hard for me too because I'm no spring chicken. So I've learned a lot in the last few years, and I'm more than willing to keep learning. I'm not one of them guys that I don't want to be stuck in a certain way of how I do things. And I don't care if you're a 15-year-old kid. If you have something that you can give me that'll help my knowledge, I don't view it as like not only like a 15-year-old kid, but it might be some lady in the stands that doesn't even know anything about roping, but just for whatever reasons, she sees this one weird thing of like, man, that looks different to me. Well, I'll listen to anybody. I mean, and I'm more than willing to at least consider anything. I mean, even if I don't try it necessarily, because if I can't wrap my brain around it, maybe, but like I'm willing to try to learn and get better every single day.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I love about this horse is it looks very familiar for you, in your roping. I think we talked about too is the vulnerability that a lot of ropers have a lot of times is in their horse. A head horse especially, because them suckers, the good ones get you the start. The start sets up the run. And the good ones, they got a stride. They can just place your ropes wherever you want it. They've got a stride where they stay up in the corner that tees that steer up right there where you post up. So you can just annihilate. You can see the first top, second out before he's even legal, when that head horse stays up and does it good. But then when you rope, to be able to just keep that rope tied all the way to the finish, same way on the heel side, being able to have something fast enough, because slow is so hard, I think, for a heeler, because now the guys throw so much line. If your horse is slow, you got to jump out so early, well, then you shove them. Then you get the steer off the line. So a horse that can frickin' stay where he needs to be, but then still have enough speed to get there when he needs to be. And then also stride and feel to where, I can see when guys get off their good ones and then try to get on something else that's green or putting them in a different spot. And you can just tell their swing is not the same. Their delivery is not the same. And then they get back on their good one again after what he's been hurt or whatever. And all of a sudden then they're back. Yeah. It's funny how strides and feel, and I can even see it in their swings. Like when you got on your good one, it just looked like Colonel. It looked like where them strands are placed. And a lot of times that has to do with that horse's feel that produces that.
Yeah, it's so that horse come from Dustin Davis. He trained him, and it's kind of weird that horse was bred and raised in Veneta, Oklahoma. And so my last few horses have all come from, and that's right up from where I'm from. And so that little area has produced quite a few good horses. Colonel, I found him in Nowat, Oklahoma, which is right there,
Dixon Flowers.
Yeah. And so that little area has at least had some part of producing the animal that has been a huge part of my career a lot. And that's kind of a funny thing. But Dustin had the horse, Clay Tryon, who he's the one that told me about the horse. And we were at your roping the other day, and I came out after running one of our steers, and he's like, "Man, that's a nice horse." And I said, "You know what, Clay? Every now and again, I just think of you and smile." So I said, I kind of liked you before. I kind of love you now.
Yeah.
But no, he called me last year. I was coming home from Sioux Falls, and him and Braylon had been in an amateur finals, and they were driving late too. So we were just visiting, and something came up about like, "Man, I need to find another horse." And he's like, "I know where one's at." He said, "But I'm telling you, you better hurry." He said, when everybody gets home, they're going to be clamoring for him." And I was like, "Okay." And so he tells me. And so the very next, it was late then. I couldn't call him right then. But that next morning, as soon as I woke up, I called Dustin. And I said, "Hey, man, Clay said you got this horse." And God bless Dustin. He spent more time trying to talk me out of him than he did selling him to me, which is nice because he kind of sets the bar low for you. But he was just like, "Man, I got to price him higher than he's worth at the moment. But this horse has so much ability and talent. I think in a year he's going to be worth this." He's like, "I just don't want to waste your time because I'm afraid he might be too green." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, send me some video. Like, let's plan on me trying him because I need something." And I wasn't even really thinking like, "Hey, I'm going to find the horse that's going to take care of me this next year," but maybe setting up the future because I really liked the roan that I'd been riding. And so I go down there and rope with him, and he lets me take him. I think I had him for a whole week. And I went up to Coleman's house and practiced with him. And man, the horse just fit me like a glove. And I think that's back to where I think God's placed all my horses in my life. And I feel that way because and I won't say any names or nothing, but there were certain guys that were supposed to try that horse. And then for whatever reason, they didn't try him. And if any of them other guys would have thrown a leg over him, I would have never seen that horse. And so,
except for when they were going to the winner's circle.
Exactly. And then just been like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a nice animal." And I've had other things like that. There was a horse I called Iron Man. I had Colonel. I was really in need for a horse. I'd been looking for one. Me and Coleman go to Speed Williams' house, and we're just practicing, just hanging out. And Shay Carroll shows up, and I watch him run 30 steers on this horse, and we're just in a far practicing. And he's beautiful, man. He is slicked off, and I didn't think nothing of it. Just, hey, that's probably a second, third string horse, whatever. Well, we're sitting there visiting while Coleman and Speedy are switching horses, and he's like, "Yeah, so-and-so was supposed to come over and try this horse today, but, he had to go do something else." And so, I go, what horse were you wanting to sell? And he's like, "Oh, this other horse over here." And I'm like, "Well, shoot, I'll try him if you're wanting to sell him." Steer one. Actually, steer one, he runs my leg into the box, but he still felt so good that I'm like, I want this horse. Like, he fit me like a glove. And just certain things like that of like, what's the chances of me being, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, as far as like guys who don't believe that God's directing our steps and moving us around where he needs to move us, what's the odds that I'm there, me and him have that certain conversation that the other guy didn't show up and try the horse when he was supposed to try him? And
guy thinks about all those unanswered prayers.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The guy prays for so many things, and there's so many other things that show up that are unanswered that we didn't ask for that were presented in front of us. And there's a lot of those throughout a guy's career in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and then just what them horses mean to us. It's, man, they're like our kids, especially when we've never been able to sell horses because I just get so attached to them.
They're warriors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We go to battle. You guys go to battle all year long,
mm-hmm.
and they help provide for your family. So, they're like brothers in the military.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what provides for my family. And when it's said and done, I can't let someone else have this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look what this guy helped build. Look what this horse helped build.
Yes. And then not to mention how many times I'm out there, like with my family not being able to go with me as often these last few years. The amount of time I spend by myself, it's just me and them. And I might just go out and hug on them a little bit. And I'm probably oddly affectionate to my horses. I like to hug them, give them kisses on the head, and tell them how much I love them. I talk to them all the time.
Yep.
I don't know if they understand me at all, but if they do, I want them to know what they mean to me.
Well, I think they do, because here's one of the prime examples. Cotton, I've loved that horse, been around for so long. I love that horse. When I'm having a bad day, I can't catch him.
Yep.
He can feel it.
Yeah.
He can feel it. And when I come out there just all hunky-dory and everything's been going great, he'll walk right up to me. So there's some senses that they do have that, and I've heard that a lot too with guys in the military that do have a lot of nonprofits that bring military guys and horses, and they learn horsemanship. And there's days them horses can sense when that guy is just raging on the inside, and they can't. Survival. Horses are prey animals. They can sense that, and so there's times, man, where I think when they can feel the love when the guy's, giving it to him, because man, it gets lonely out there also too. It's kind of your brother out there in the trenches is when you're out there doing battle trying to beat all these guys, and it's different than back in the day when there was 20 teams. Now there's 100. Yeah. The trenches are tough. The teams are tough. The road's tough, and so
I've done weird stuff too where I went through a stage where like Roger is the roan horse I've rode the last couple of years at the finals, and I might just get off and tell him how good he is and how much he means to me. And then I've even gone through this with other horses of like, I'll tell him what steer we got. Like, hey man, this one really runs. I'm gonna need you tonight. Like I need you to be on point.
Yeah.
Or,
cool.
Hey, this one's not as strong. You don't have to be as nervous about this one.
Yeah, I've been there myself.
Yeah.
My dad was that way. My dad would go out in the pasture, man. My dad's horses loved him. When you're around Joe, them horses, they'll walk to him. You can tell that like them horses love him. And yeah, it is, man. It can be family for sure.
Yeah.
You guys, you and Andy, you guys been getting ready for the NFR yet?
Yeah, we've only roped. I went 2 days to his house, and then I went 1 day to Coleman's house. My initial plan was, usually when we practice, we're just wired different animals. So like Andy is real about keeping his lines, keeping his horse's footwork. He's so patient in the corner.
So talk a little bit about your lines.
So
like when you guys talk lines, like what exactly is it that you're talking about?
Well, it's I guess for a better way of putting it is maybe keeping our lanes in the highway. So he's real adamant about staying in a certain lane that he likes to stay in. He likes to really get the steer's head and shoulders and really be deliberate about how he brings the steer around. He's extremely picky about how he handles cattle, and almost to a point where he's too hard on himself, truthfully. But it makes my job super easy once I've learned the patience of staying on the outside of the turn. And then he knows by him staying in this wider lane, that's why we need to kind of bring things a little bit left. Because if we're going to let things go straight or go to the right, he can't be running over. If you were to pretend like he had 3 lanes on a highway, he can't be over in the far left lane and then the steer be, over on the other side of the median. So he's got to, kind of pick his lane accordingly to all that. So when we talked about practicing, we both know how we're wired. So I told him, I said, hey, we need to rope together, obviously, no matter what. But I think for me to be at my best, I need to go rope maybe with Coleman, because he's a little more like foot on the throttle, kind of we run in the red a little bit more, but that's how we grew up roping. So, and he knows what makes me tick. So that was our initial plan. And then I went 2 days to Andy's house, and man, the practice felt amazing. Like the rhythm and the run was there, like, and maybe it was just us roping faster that made the rhythm be there, but I felt amazing. I'm like, shoot, I'm ready to go now. I mean, this is awesome. And so then I load up and I go to Coleman's house, and he's got some muleys that are spirited athletic animals. They are dang sure full tilt. I mean, they are not a day off. And Coleman is dirty hooking them and giving me great looks. And I mean, it felt like I missed 60% of them. I mean, it made me I went from like top of the mountain, us talking about that humbling deal, to like, I need to cut up my ropes, and I'm going to have to practice way more than I thought I was going to have to. Well, then I think that's what's funny about our mind. Luckily, we had them all on video, and I go watching the videos, and I'm waiting for the train wreck. I'm like, I know it's in here somewhere, and I'm flipping through these videos, and then I get to the end of it, and I'm like, well, I really roped way better than I thought I did. I didn't even miss that many. I don't know what I was thinking. It didn't look bad. But I was so far ahead. Andy's steers were just a little bit easier.
Right.
They were a little more confident. I mean, they weren't slow necessarily by any means, but they were just a little friendlier.
But those other ones probably similar to that first round.
Oh my gosh, they were hard.
Coleman's.
And so it's
that's
like,
how hard that first, it seemed like the first 2 rounds, and then the 4th and 5th round can almost feel, because they're so strong, like freaking muscly and fleshy, and still a little fresh.
But the funny thing is, I think I showed up and the run was slow in my mind. So when I first showed up, the first little round, because I kind of alternated my horses through, the first round through, I actually roped really good because the run was slow. I wasn't trying too hard. Well, then in the middle there, I started going, okay, we're going to press and make this. And then I started running over myself.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I came back to like, all right.
Good to do that at home too.
Yes.
Where a guy can remember that
when
a guy gets out there. Sometimes every once in a while, those interceptions in the practice pen,
Yes.
are really good to have then, to where then it makes that read the next time where it's a banger at the rodeo.
Well, the funny thing is that Andy talks about that.
Yeah, sorry, I had to do the bathroom break here real quick, but they were talking about steers at Coleman's and kind of being able to have those opportunities where every once in a while, like where there's an interception thrown on the practice pin, more or less, and those, when you're able to have those mistakes in the practice pin where it almost keeps you sharp when that read comes up again, you're like, oh yeah, there's the adjustment.
Yeah, I was going to say the neat thing, again, I've learned a lot from Andy just in our short time of roping together, but when he's talking about them horses working with them in the box, he's like, it's exciting when they mess up because then we get to work on something. And so like that's kind of evolved my thinking even in the roping. Like
he's not wired right, man. That is awesome. He's excited for the diversity.
Well, because he's like,
adversity.
If you go in there and then nothing's happening, then you can't work on nothing. So like you're almost, I mean,
those days.
Ideally, yeah, I've had a lot of those. Which ideally, once they're solid and stuff, you don't necessarily have to do it. But when you're working on them young horses or trying to instill the confidence and the maneuvers that you want in them, you actually encourage them, not encourage them to mess up, but it's such an opportunity to help them grow and advance them. And so like, instead of looking at it like, you sorry sucker, I can't believe you're messing up. He's almost like, oh, I'm glad you're doing it here. Okay, I'll show you. I can fix it and I can guide you and lead you along the way. And so that's a little bit the same in the practice pen. Like, if I go to the practice pen and say I go 100 for 100, well, then I probably wasn't pushing myself enough. I probably wasn't working on enough, to make myself make mistakes. And so I would like to think at some point Cleo told me at one point, it's not about necessarily getting better. It's about maintaining the level that you're at some point in this game. And so there's a lot of truth to that. The game is evolving so much, and it's evolved so much in my career that I do feel like we've had to grow and adjust with it a little bit. I've been fortunate that the game has kind of grown more to my style. I wasn't necessarily as indicative to the style of roping when I came in, and I think that's what made it harder to find that success early. Is I was running hot, running red a lot. I was taking a lot of chances that didn't necessarily need to be taken. And then, probably the two greatest bits of advice I ever got as far as my roping in my career was, and the first one's going to sound incredibly simple, but me and Travis Graves were real close friends, and I just asked him, like, man, what do I need to do? What do I need to be better at? And he's like, you got to rope 2 feet every single time. And it's like, well, duh. But as simple as that is, it's just the fact of like, as a professional healer, like your percentages have to be really, really high. Because the headers, truthfully, like as much as we give y'all crap, you got a lot going on over there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of variables that y'all are having to overcome. And if you're doing your job good, you're simplifying the variables that I have to deal with. So my job is I have to be really high percentage. And then the other one was from Speedy. I was talking to him one day, and he said, it's not that you throw fast. He said, you take unnecessary risk. He said, if you're high callback at the BFI and you got to be 9 seconds, if you run by the corner and throw over your horse's head, even if you rope 2 feet, you're an idiot. If you set the run up right and you can take the exact same shot, but if you set it up right, then it's fine. And so then I started looking at team roping at a different angle of like, okay, because I was just balls of the wall, hand down, swinging as fast as I could. I'm just trying to get to the end of the turn. And then my dad told me a long time ago, your first shot's your best shot. And in my young brain, that Ricky Bobby, I'm like, okay, I got to throw when they turn.
First or last.
Yeah. And so those are some interesting perspectives, because I see 3 quotes that I remembered from, or not 3 quotes, but I think 3 different ways you can look at it from the 2 people that you brought up. You think about Clay. You think about the consistency, the zone that guy would stay in, the ability to never beat himself. Like that was that guy's strength. Mm-hmm. Cool like Fonzie, man, just the champ. He was the guy that no matter where the read was, he was in the right spot, where if it was fast, it was going to be fast. If it needed cleaned up, he cleaned it up. Mm-hmm. If the steer was running the rope, he got ahead of it. He held the slack. Whatever the read was, his focus and his ability to stay within himself and not beat himself was probably as good as it ever was back there. Mm-hmm. Then you think of Speedy. Speedy almost told me sometimes, like when you talked about earlier, well, it's 100 for 100. Speedy might tell you, well, then it doesn't sound like you were trying hard enough. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not pressing, if you're not missing, you're not pressing. Yeah. Well, that guy was a presser. And the
that
practice
guy
pin,
pressed.
He wanted it to be way harder.
Way harder in the practice pin. So in that way, when you got to competition, it was almost easy. Mm-hmm. That guy was probably the first presser I've ever seen
Mhm.
where he allowed mistakes in the practice pen because he was working on things and he was trying to get that read, and he wasn't scared to make those gambles that
Mhm.
needed to be there because he may need that run throughout the year. And then you think of Rich Skelton. Rich Skelton, I remember, told me one time, he says, if the crowd comes off your feet when you heel, you probably did it wrong.
I was actually fixing to bring him up because we were talking about the run being slow in our head, right? And the greats, that's what they do. Well, the two memories I have of them two people, actually, I have one more funny Clay story after this, but we were at Sykes in Missouri, and this is a Clay story. Britt Buckus roped a leg or missed a steer in the first round, and I have him in round 2, and this dirty sucker is not fun to heel. Legs going everywhere, like not fun at all. And wheels are turning a little, right? So I'm walking around the arena. It's a big slack, and I find Champ, and I'm like, man, what do you think about that cow, man? He's kind of hard to heel right there. And he's like, no, if you put your bottom on the ground, and he just kind of rode off. And I'm like, well,
That's it?
He's not
That's
wrong.
it?
Yeah, that's it. It's that simple. And then Richie, one time we're at San Antonio, and he draws one that goes pretty hard left. And I'm sitting there talking to him like, man, what are you thinking? You going to hang back right there and try to see if you can give him a step to go a little straighter? You going to try to go with him? Well, like, how much do you see? And I talked for probably 3 minutes asking him this question. He looks at me and goes, where the steer goes, I go. And I'm like, okay, well, that's easy enough, But one little funny story about Champ, that this is me being young and naive a little bit, but we're out there in California and we're practicing, and I've got Colonel, and he's young, so that excuses this a tiny bit, but I'm running some steers on him, and I'm heading and heeling, and we're just, it's ignorant, especially looking back on, but we're kids and still at that time, kind of. Actually, I was late 20s, but whatever. I was a late mature. But we're out there roping, and I made the question to Champ. I was like, "Hey, Champ, you think I need to switch to heading?" And he goes, "Man, I guess that just depends. Do you want to be $1 million header or a $2 million healer?" And I was like, Champ said I'm $1 million header. That's all I heard. And I told everybody, I said, that's the nicest way I've ever been told I'm terrible at something.
The term that you see in the Bible when it says think before you speak is the one thing I will say that man has conquered.
Yep.
When he gives you an answer, it is time to sit back, relax, take notes, and soak it in because it's been so well thought out.
Yeah.
That guy, man, I enjoyed being able to have coffee with that guy and break team roping down. And yeah, he's just a man.
Mm-hmm.
He's cool. And it's so fun, especially when you're growing up and those guys were the idols, to be able to just be warming up in that practice pen, shoulder to shoulder, and, listening to the analogies that they talk about, the visuals that they send, and just the fact that they've overcome what you've been, kind of still trying to work through, and that the way they break it in such simplicity, it's crazy, because at the time I've heard him say it so many times, and I'm like, dang, man, if you didn't want to say it, just don't say it, because it's so simple.
Well, the hard part for me,
once it relates and you see it and you do it, and it was almost as simple as they made it.
Yeah.
I was making the complicated part.
Well, and to me, so the funny things now is, like, with podcast and X Factor and roping.com and all this stuff that's going on, the access that the younger generation has to all the pros that are doing it, and the way we think and the way we see things, and we're humans to them, for lack of better terms. And so the hard part when we were younger, them guys were gods.
Were Supermen.
They were mythological creatures. Like, we only saw them at the NFR.
Look at Clay.
Yeah.
I see his cape.
Yes.
I see it.
And so what was neat to me is they always say, don't meet your heroes, and it was really cool to me that, like, when I did finally get to spend time with them, of like how gracious and humble and accepting that all of them were. And to me, like I said, it's different now because they already know that we're human, and I didn't know those guys were human. And so it is different coming up. Those guys had such an intimidation factor of, like, when we started in on them, like you said, it was so hard to have success early. It felt like, because you want me to beat these guys? Like, I talked to Chase the other day, and he's like, dude, I used to watch the hot dog video. I thought no one missed. He said, I didn't even realize it was a highlight video. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
And so we were just like, we were almost ingrained that these guys are like, they're just machines and they never mess up. And I'm over here missing, all these steers and they'd never mess up. Well, then if we'd have got to see them through the whole year, it's like, no, they do their fair share of messing. You know, they're human. It happens. But it's just for the big moments. And we're all hopefully peaked at the big moments. And, you know, we tend to do our job better at those moments because we're hyper-focused. And that's all we ever got to see in the past of them guys. And so that to me is part of the world evolving and changing a little bit too.
Yeah. I think with the technology, with the podcast, xfactoropen.com, and then also social media, the visuals, watching almost everyone's runs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so much out there for the young group to get better. But man, I really excited to watch you and Andy Rope this year, man. Your finals the last 2 years have been, it looks different, like you said. It looks like the ability to let things happen. The pressure does not look there to just try to grind and just be there, even though it still looks amazing. It, you know, I think with you and Andy, it's going to just flow right on into it. I'm excited to watch you guys. I can really see the end of the 10th round, you guys having a chance, and right there between average and world title. I just like you guys have the run on paper, and just excited to watch it and root for you, man. And can't tell you how much, for the second day in a row, it was getting to hang out and freaking talk team roping, man. It was fun. I really enjoyed it, man. Anytime you ever want to come on again, man, I loved it. This was relaxing. It was fun, man. Love talking team roping, and truly fun to talk the game with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And I don't know, I thought yesterday was really good, but we rebounded well. We did good second round too.
For sure. And then where's the future headed for you after the NFR? Might be headed back north again, where you're from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
maybe making a move.
We just started kind of breaking ground. I bought some land up there, and I guess going back to the family, not getting to go as much as I would like for them to. I needed to kind of relocate and recalibrate everything, so I bought some land. My dad's gonna. It had a little metal house on it, and he's actually living in it right now. And we're gonna build a house and a barn and get moved up there. Hopefully, I guess this spring or probably next fall. I mean, I'm sure it'll take a while to get everything going, but be able to be set up to where he can watch the place and we can leave at the drop of a hat if we need to. And whether that's a vacation or a rodeo, or let's be honest, it'll be a rodeo. So I don't take my wife out as much as I need to. So just need to kind of realign some priorities a little bit.
Man, it's good because you talk about, you know, with raising kids and a family, it takes a village, and to be able to have the family close and to be able to have the access to have the help and things like that, that's going to be real easy. Going to be good for your family and all the way around. So it's always good to get back to the roots for sure. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, and a lot of friends I grew up with, and kind of just get to. And when this ride's over, that's where I'm headed anyway. Yeah. So I'm just gonna accelerate the process, and I'm not looking to quit anytime soon. I mean, I'm gonna ride this train as long as it'll let me, and so. But I think it'll make it a smoother ride to be up there.
Awesome, man. We're going to be rooting for you, man. You guys go take it to him up there at the NFR, and appreciate you coming on, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You betcha.